Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Secrets of Silvercreek. Secrets of Silvercreek is our 8-episode campaign that we unlocked during our fundraiser, and we are thrilled to finally get back into playing some Predation. I am joined here by Gina DeVivo, B. Dave Walters, Revati Domse, and Sam Delev, and we have been really looking forward to playing this game for a while now. This is going to be our 8-episode Saturday afternoon game, where we get to indulge in our roots of playing in the Cypher system, which I have missed for a long time now. This game is going to run a little differently than you see in normal tabletop RPG. Each player is playing 2 characters. They are playing their main character, and then they're playing somebody's dino pet. Because in Predation, everybody gets a dino character, unless you're one of those folks that really wants like a cute Pokemon style, like baby mammal, early mammal, late Cretaceous period mammal. So I will go ahead and give everyone 2 heads up. As this game is so short, we're not going to spend as much time describing or communicating the setting. You can find a lot of that in the Predation core book, which is available at Monte Cook Games. We're just going to launch into this campaign and start playing as we go. The other thing I was going to let everybody know, we didn't get enough time to actually put a disclaimer on top of this game, but I did want to give everyone a heads up that we are going to kind of keep this PG-13 the way we mostly do our games. With the exception of when it comes to, there will be, this is a land of dinosaurs, and if you can imagine what it would be like if a GM was taking you through what happens when Robert Muldoon gets tackled by a velociraptor and eaten alive, that shit might be happening in this game. So, just giving you a heads up, there may be graphic descriptions of dino violence. This is a very dangerous world that the players are living in. This is the late Cretaceous period, 65 million years ago. So, that's the heads up. The last thing I wanted to give a heads up with regards to that disclaimer is we have something I just want to take into account. There are a lot of folks that I am learning don't like the description of insects very much, creepy crawlies. This is particularly pertinent to this game setting because the Cretaceous period has very large insects. The centipedes alone could grow up to 6 feet long on some occasions. So let's just go ahead and tell you by default that there will be some descriptions of insects from time to time. So just be aware of that if you're not a fan of that. Although I was surprised to find that spiders were not as big as I thought they would be in the Cretaceous period. Surprisingly enough. Not as big as I thought. Still freakishly huge. Still like camel spider big. But
why were you researching spider size ahead of the game? Just
because I'm sorry, Dave, are you asking about spiders?
Unless there's any other announcements, does anybody want to take time to do any announcements before we get? Anybody got some upcoming games they want to let the audience know about, or anything that's going on, or is this just a Saturday and we don't care? We're just going to move on. And yes, go ahead. Yes, you.
I have an actual announcement. I promise.
Oh my God.
This week we announced that Rick Budd of Tempting Fate and writer for Fast and the first season of Shield of Tomorrow is launching here on QueueTimes a new superhero RPG show, and I am playing in it. I am very, 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 very excited. It will definitely not be like any superheroes I have been before. I am very, very, very excited, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this amazing group of B. Zelda and Omar Najam and Caitlin Bruder and myself all do in a long-form superhero setting with a writer who just loves comics and loves big story structure and who now busts beyond the short-shot Tempting Fate model and into long-form narrative. So if you want to check out all of those things, that's going to launch next week on Sunday at 5 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm so excited.
Yay. Okay. Anybody else have any other announcements they'd like to? Yes, B. Dave.
Tomorrow, Into the Motherlands, session 0, 4 o'clock, twitch.tv/Cypher of Tier.
Right on. Okay, before we jump into the game, one last disclaimer. I would like just to remind everybody, a gentle reminder that this is sci-fi based in science. We are taking liberties, but not too many liberties with the accuracy of how dinosaurs are portrayed. I'm bringing this up because people can get pretty passionate about how dinosaurs are portrayed in film and media, and science checks are completely allowed. If you want to share your dino facts or anything that you know about dinosaurs, we just ask that you do so with a whimsical spirit and knowing that we're playing a sci-fi RPG where we're just going to play to have fun. That being said, if there's no other announcements, I think we might be ready to go.
I'm excited, but I said it before about superheroes, and now I'm saying it about dinos because I'm excited about both, but right now we're about to do dinos, and I'm excited!
All right, in that case, since Sam is excited, let's go ahead and begin our journey back 65 million years and begin the story of the secrets of Silvercreek. Let's begin the story of the secrets of Silvercreek. 65 million years in the past. There are some people that say that the human mind can't picture more than 12 objects at the same time. It kind of helps us understand why the years of 65 million between now and then are almost incomprehensible, if not completely incomprehensible to the human mind. It was another world, an ancient landscape that looked similar in some ways, but in many completely alien to where we live now. The world was younger. The Earth was in its juvenile stage. The late Cretaceous period brings with it an entire civilization of humanity that has been trapped in the past. But you all have managed to find a home 80 years after the last commute when time travel suddenly ceased. Travelers and pioneers decided to move out of the main city of Kaleno and to strike out on their own to create and build a life of their very own away from the life that they had always known. To build a life far away from the politics and the power grabbing that was taking place once humanity realized that it needed to set up central governments, when factions began to form. Those many years ago, these pioneers traveled out west along the river known as Tortix Run. Tortix Run is the nickname for the western inward interior seaway that runs across the continent parallel to the Chalk Road. The Chalk Road, of course, being this long trade route that extends from one end of the continent to the other and connects the communities that have sprouted up around the main central hub of civilization that is Kaleno City. You are one of these small communities. Silvercreek is about 400 miles away from the main central, from the east coast. So it's based further away and a little more to the west side of the coast of the main continent of Laramidia. What would eventually, in a few million years, will become present day Nevada, Colorado area. To you, this is a jungled, rocky terrain land filled with pristine wildlife and trees that tower incomprehensibly tall overhead. Yes, Jody, massive trees that reach towards the skies. The ancient forests around here, up until 80 years ago, had been completely untouched by humankind. And as a result, your eyes have laid upon a landscape that no human has ever seen before your generation. A landscape that is the earth in its raw, most primal form. There is no pollution in the skies here. You've never known pollution. You were born in the Cretaceous period. You grew up in the Cretaceous period. It's your parents or your grandparents that came from the future and have told tales about what it was like back then. Some of those elders still live today, as the average lifespan of a human being has gone far past what it would be in our present day. Humans from the future typically live up to 180 to 190 years is the maximum lifespan. Two of the elders of Silvercreek, here's some names for you players, get ready to write them down. The head elder of Silvercreek is a woman named Amalia Molina, doctor, a botanist, and a former Sati employee. She's the eldest and one of the original founders of Silvercreek. Silvercreek was founded about 60 years ago. The second elder is a man named Dr. Adrian Becker, who is 101. He used to be former security for Sati, the company that brought everyone back in time. The other two community heads are Michael Yen, who is a dino herder and one of the people that manages the cattle. So some of you in our group here will probably be very familiar with Michael. Yen is a natural at reading body language of dinosaurs and understanding their behaviors, but also herding them, as a lot of the materials that y'all use to keep the community healthy and alive come from the animal wildlife as much as it does from the plant wildlife back here. There's also Alis Skystone, who was also born here in the Cretaceous period. Alis is the protector of Silvercreek. She's kind of always been the one that has organized the settlement's militia if there's ever been a threat, either from dinosaurs, be it a carnivore that's wandered into the area that's becoming problematic to the herd stock. Maybe it was one of the faction leaders that's bringing trouble around to your borders. It could be the occasional Sav that's moved in, which is, of course, for those of you who don't know, short for savage, which is a term used specifically to describe people who have decided to emulate dinosaurs and become more like carnivorous animals. They are sort of like the war boys. If you could describe anybody, it's from like Mad Max. They're more like the ward boys from Mad Max would be the best way to describe them. Savs are vicious people, and they come from all walks of life, and no one knows what brings them out to embrace that darker side, but they are like the Reavers of predation. They just wander into the wilds, and they do whatever they want. Those have also been in issues. But Alis Skystone has been the most ardent protector of Silvercreek, even after a carnivorous dinosaur took her left arm in a fight. That was only her third year heading up the protection of Silvercreek, and it has not slowed her down or changed her lifestyle whatsoever. She is still just as determined and not taking any bullshit from anybody. She is not scared of dinosaurs. Indeed, much like surfers who have encounters with sharks who take an injury, don't stop loving surfing, don't stop loving sharks. The community itself does have a lot of natural resources that make it a very important place here on the Tortex run. Namely, that some of the minerals that can be mined out of the creek itself. One of the reasons it got the nickname Silver Creek were some of the metals that could be found on the riverbeds that lined the creek bed area that branches out nearby, giving the creek bed itself a very beautiful, haunting glow at night, almost as if it were made of silver. The village itself consists of about 18 families, so it's quite small. This is a place where literally everybody knows your name. The population is 47. And we're going to begin the narrative right off the top with the river Interior Seaway River, which is only about a mile away from the Silvercreek settlement. It's close enough that Silvercreek has actually become a vital stopping point for people making the journey down the river. Now, just to give you guys a quick insight on what the Tortex Run means for civilization right now. The Tortex Run is the largest and widest river in Laramidia, which is the name for this side of this continent. It's situated between Kaleno and the Western Interior Seaway. It runs more than 500 miles, ending just south of the coastal town of Adamir. The river's depth and size means that it is full of large creatures, most of which are carnivorous. There are companies, however, that are encouraging trade and that have been using this river as a route to move trade up and down. Some say it's a little safer than the chalk road because you never know exactly who you're going to run into on the chalk road. Chalk road is the safest and hardest way to travel. Tortex Run is the more dangerous, fastest way to travel. The largest company that uses the Tortex Run for trade routes, renting out their boats and their guides in order to take people down the river, is a company called Silvercreek Edge. Now, Silvercreek Edge is a company that has actually been quite good to Silvercreek because they do bring trade through Silvercreek. Your contact with Silvercreek Edge is a man named Tavin. Tavin is Tavin is sort of like, if you could imagine like everybody's favorite mailman. When the Silvercreek sees that Tavin is coming into town, everyone's usually like happy to go greet him and bring him a bottle of alcohol, that kind of thing. Tavin is a rather thin, wirely built black man that's constantly dressed up in what looks like sort of like the leathers and more markings of the time of the Cretaceous period. He's not wearing any of like modernized clothing that a lot of people are used to seeing. Instead, he usually dresses very coolly. So wearing vests, like leathered skinned vests and breathable breeches, usually has a rifle slung around his shoulder, and has his own boat in which he guides trading caravans back and forth through Tortex Run. He frequently makes stops here in Silvercreek because it's a small community that not too many people know about, usually bringing in some really interesting goods from Kaleno, as far as Kaleno City, and also some great stories. The kids of Silvercreek are very fond of him. It's really unusual to see him not passing by every few months or so with a few caravans in tow. You guys first came into contact with him when his caravan got into trouble. As I said, there are creatures in the water that, we'll just say the dinosaurs in the water have the tendency of appearing cute. They look adorable when you first see them. And then upon closer inspection, they become less adorable. Now, it's also worth noting that a lot of the people who have grown up here in the Cretaceous period don't necessarily name dinosaurs the way we do. They don't know, when they hear the word plesiosaur, it's not going to have the same connection as somebody who says, oh yeah, the one with the neck and fins that killed me. Like, they'll just name it like the long-necked shark. They come up with quick names for it. Much like if you all are familiar with Terra Nova, raptors were simply called slashers. It's very similar in that regard, where the people, the culture that has grown up around in the Cretaceous period haven't taken the time or the inclination to necessarily abide by the scientific designations of these animals. Rather, communicating simply what they are so you know whether to stay away from it or not. We're starting off the story now with all of you standing on the riverbanks, watching as Tavis is waving at you from all the way across the other side of the river as he's steering this large raft capable of supporting what would probably be just at least a few huge packets of goods, completely empty, however. He's got this big stick on he's holding, and he's like pushing the raft a little bit closer to the sides of the river itself. He's not using his typical boat that he normally has. This looks more like it's a raft that he's been guiding, which is typical for like short journeys. And you see him pushing himself closer and closer. Looks like there's no trade packets on board, but what you can see near the edges of this, he's got a couple of guests, perhaps like travelers who are just trying to get from A to B. as he's moving closer and closer. You've all been sent out here to meet Tavis because anytime there's a new guest coming into Silvercreek, for whatever reason, since you were little, Dr. Melina, she has been completely avid that anybody passing through Silvercreek, everyone needs to know about it, and the location of Silvercreek needs to be protected as much as possible. She's always been very avid about that. So, as he's pushing this boat forward and moving guys closer, this huge raft, and you can see the shapes of people on this raft behind him, it's midday. The sun is overhead, beating down, no clouds in the sky. You can, of course, hear the sounds of life all around you. It never stops. There's no such thing as a quiet night unless something really big is nearby. Why don't we do this and go starting from you, Gina? What does Tavis see? What do his friends look like as he's approaching the banks of Silvercreek? We'll start with you.
So what they see is a slight but very built, very defined arms, and very loose sort of fitting top with lots of holes, and clearly was probably sewn by herself. She has a waist underbust corset, probably to protect her vital organs. Loose pants that have been modified to be tied up into various lengths depending on the terrain. And a massive scar from the top of her ear, which has parts missing. The lower part of her ear is missing, and there is a slash, a huge scar from her ear all the way down to the other side of her arm. It looks like it healed badly. And she looks to be young 20s, roughly teenager-ish. She has big bushy black hair that she has braided and wrapped in lots of metals. And she is sitting there on the river shore eating noodles, and all she just says is, "Why do they always come at lunchtime?"
Nice. All right. B. Dave.
Tego Yoram is a mountain of a man. He's big enough to stand there and give shade to all of you with almost impossibly broad, knotty shoulders and just bulging arms that come all the way down to hands that are wrapped in bits and pieces of recovered cloth and chunks of metal strips have been laid across his hands, and then that's been wrapped up. He wears a tattered vest that is really just for the pockets. Otherwise his chest is exposed, and he's covered with scars and cuts and bites from all manner of creatures that you wouldn't be able to identify just by looking at them. Mm-hmm. Cargo pants that have trailed off and are tattered over heavy work boots, in a thick bushy beard and thick hair that has begun to dread naturally but very much unevenly, and his skin is brown to the point of almost being leather, and he is sitting on the shore carving a toy dinosaur for one of the orphans with one of his knives.
Okay.
And
nice.
When she says, "Why do they always come at noon?" he just says, "Well, because if they came after sundown, they'd be dinner."
Well, all I'm saying is they better have brought their own food, because I'm not sharing.
Slurp. All right, Ravity, tell us about River.
Well, if Tego is the mountain of a man, I would say that River is the tree of a woman. So you've got a woman in her late 20s who is similarly wiry, I would say. Do you say his name was Tavin?
Tago, if I remember correctly.
No. Tavin is the man.
Oh, you mean the NPC?
Yeah.
Yeah. His name is Tavin. Tavin. Yeah.
Tavin. I put it down as Owen. Anyway, so you described Tavin as wiry, and she is actually wiry as well. I would say that she looks like a bit of a survivalist is the way that I would describe it. I think that she's still got some like leaves in her hair, which is a short pixie cut that definitely looks like she cuts it herself. She has cargo pants that are well worn at this point, and she's wearing a tank top that looks like it's made out of like a sturdy material, like almost like a canvas. Like you could put this thing through the ringer and it would still exist just fine. She's a quiet woman, I would say, and right now she is looking to the tree line, probably trying to figure out where her companion is, quite honestly.
We're about to get to that, yeah.
Yeah, but she's looking to the tree line. If everyone's looking else to the river, she's keeping an eye on the tree line. And
Okay.
I would say, to contribute to the conversation, all she says is it dinner time already? And that's it.
So what does Penny look like?
Yeah. So from the river, what Tavin you can see is Penny's shorts covered butt, because they just looked around and are like digging around in something behind them. Like very last minute, they realized there was something, and then they started looking for it and they didn't find it immediately. And every couple of moments, it started bothering them that they couldn't find it. They just kept idly looking for it. And now, right as someone is approaching, this is, of course, the perfect time to abandon all looking, like, attentiveness and vigilance and try to find the freaking got away somewhere. She was just here, I swear, and looks up at the mention of dinner, and you can see half tanned, half sunburned, maybe shoulder length, frizzy, a little like fried out hair, tucked back ponytail, feathers in the ponytail, in their tank shirt. They have something that's like, I think, kind of kilt-ish, honestly, in this era, because there are so many cargo shorts and board shorts don't exist yet. But they do have a little bit of coverings on their legs because ticks exist in the Cretaceous. And they have some like good wilderness-ready boots. They have bits and bobs on strings and in pockets and in pouches all over. It doesn't look like they're a survivalist like River. They look like they just have stuff, and maybe it comes in handy sometimes, but mostly it was pretty colors, and that's definitely what's going on with the feathers. All the feathers are a different color. Is there coordination in this aesthetic? No, but someone had childlike joy in not knowing how to dress themselves. Dinner? What? Dinner. They pop back
So on
Dinner's
that
later.
note,
It's lunch.
on that note, now that we've done character descriptors, it's also important that to point out that you are not the only one standing here on the riverbed. There are, in fact, creatures surrounding you that follow each of you everywhere you go. Ish, as River is gazing out into the bush line to find out where the hell her companion is. I'd love to start with you, Penny, since we just wrapped up with you. Tell me a little bit about Goose. You want, let me ask. Yeah, so who's Goose?
I can tell you about Goose because I know about Goose because I don't know where Clever went.
Right.
I keep looking. I do not know where Clever went. She was
here?
right here. I thought so. I wanted you to meet her. Cause really, anyway. Goose, on the other hand, is very nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe uncomfortably close. Particularly uncomfortably close to Echo and Echo's lunch. And it's not that they want that Goose wants noodles. Goose doesn't understand noodles.
It doesn't stop Echo from offering
It has
noodles
Echo's
above.
attention. It might be a threat. Goose doesn't know. Goose is a tyrannosaurid, but not a T-Rex, a dynamoterror. That is a tyrannosaurid that actually exists in the late Cretaceous. And they're very close to Echo's face, and they don't quite snuffle the noodles. They just...
So the height, the coloration, what would you say Goose looks like? Would you say...
Yeah. So dynamoterrors are smaller than T-Rexes by a reasonable amount, maybe say like a 3/4 the size, 2/3 the size. Feathered because I have no evidence to the contrary. With very bright feathers, because we know in nature, bright feathers often mean don't mess with me. And you can tell Goose isn't too distraught because the feathers aren't ruffled as they snuff into the noodles, just letting everybody know that they're there and they're watching and nobody try anything. Goose.
Okay, this hot breath coming out of these nostrils as Goose is just kind of leaned a little close to you, Echo. Just here.
Anytime my noodles start to get cold, I just let the hot breath breathe on them for a
Breathe
second,
all over.
and then keep eating them.
So, Tago, I would love to know, is it Tago or Tago, B. Dave? Is it
Tago?
Tago. Okay, cool. I want to get that right. Tago, tell us what 9 looks like and who does 9 belong to?
9 belongs to River. 9 is a sweet boy. It's like if you had an adorable nearsighted hedgehog mixed with a Bradley tank. He probably stands about 4 foot at the shoulder. He is an ankylosaur, so he is covered in incredibly thick armor with a thick armored head and a long tail that comes out to a murderous club on the end that he himself loses track of from time to time. And he is off snuffling in the bushes because he smells something strange, completely paying no attention to the fact that his tail is like whipping wildly, very easily inflicting wounds that would crush and maim anyone. But he's not paying attention as he's like rooting under a bush looking for something.
Okay. So, B-Dave, you've requested to describe what Stenny looks like. Is that how you pronounce Stenny's name?
It's Steeny, but you know what? In the spirit of this, I forego that request.
Okay.
Are you sure?
I have full faith in the Gina. Yes.
Okay.
I totally morph to whatever you describe. I can start neutral and then start shaping.
Well, let me tell you this, so that you are not on the spot. You tell me, because I had a vision in my mind. If you want me to say what I saw her looking like, I will. If you would like to define it, you can.
Well, how about we do both? How about I say a descriptor and then you say a descriptor? How's that work? So then it's a collaboration.
Do it. Go for it.
Okay, great. So Steeny is a Dakota raptor. So she's about 18 feet towering over everyone else's dinos, and is at the river's edge, completely like dog head tilting at the raft, extremely excited about what the heck is the moving solid object coming towards it, everyone.
And she is, I just wrote this down where I have it. She's amber, like the light reflecting off of a stream at sunset, and she's twice as playful. Her eyes are sharp and darting, always looking for trouble or a snack. And she has a green tuft of feathers on her head that stick up when she's excited and lay down flat when she's being sneaky.
Perfect. So at the river's edge, they keep going up and then ducks in case it's danger, but then gets too excited again and they go right back up and then sees another bit of movement and they go back down. It is just a constant shifting, and it almost looks like just a peacock feather that just keeps going up and down with excitement. And there is some slight cooing coming out of the throat that's just lower.
So I want you all to imagine what a 19-foot predator that weighs up to 700 pounds would look like, acting like a large, curious puppy dog as this thing is approaching. It's alarming as it's kind of dipping and looking. In that case, the last one we have is Clever. I would love to know what Clever is and who Clever belongs to.
All right. Clever is Penny's Bambi Raptor, which is as adorable as it sounds, because if Clever could speak, Clever would tell you that she is quite adorable. But you kind of have to find Clever first before you can take a good look at her. She is nowhere to be seen right now. In fact, Penny is looking around for Clever quite frantically. And honestly, this is kind of part of Clever's elaborate scheme to steal Echo's noodles. This is the current game plan that's happening right now. Clever is essentially what she's trying to do is you don't see Clever, but you hear the, like, if a Bambi Raptor could snicker, you would be hearing like this soft snickering. And it is almost like Clever is trying to use her voice to distract you. And she's using Penny as her main like weapon right now. So she's slowly inching Penny closer and closer to Echo in the hopes that Penny will knock over Echo and like she can go for the noodles. So that's Clever's current game plan. Clever is a Bambi Raptor though, so she's about, if when we see her, she will be the size of about like a chicken, and she looks like a raptor with a little bit of the plumage. And I'm gonna say that she has plumage that resembles a little bit like a golden eagle. And so you've got like these beautiful like golden like autumn feathers, and then also like some of those browns in there as well. But she's a little bit of a trickster god is what I will call her. And right now she's going for those noodles. So you just hear the quiet snickering, I would say like every 5 seconds, and it comes from a different location every single time. Just her darting around.
I pretend to ignore it while slurping louder.
Oh, yes. Excellent.
I would also say, you see Tago every once in a while just reach out and grab Steenie's tail and just like pulls her back a little, like way rougher than you would think he should do with something this big. Like,
I think that you hear River just give some like half-hearted, buddy, watch the tail, watch your tail, nine, watch your tail. And just like not even making an effort because she knows that tail is going to take out anything it wants to take out.
He just like splinters a nearby tree, just like boom, like, and then back to what he was doing.
So real quick, is your Ankylosaur an adult or juvenile? Like how old would you say?
I would say that it is actually I would say it's pretty juvenile right now, not full grown. Because the Ankylosaur I would say has been around for maybe like 2 or 3 years of its life, not much longer than that.
So even at just this age, to give you guys an idea of what kind of animal the Ankylosaur looks like, Ankylosaurs are much like trikes. They're the Sherman tanks of predation. This is an animal that would be considered squat if you were to compare it to the other larger bipedal animals or quadrupedal animals that move around in the Cretaceous period. This Ankylosaur, however, is a squat quadrupedal armored vehicle that weighs up to 11,000 pounds and has an incredible this bone club at the end of it, as you've all described, is a dangerous and dissuading weapon to larger predators. I just, bull in a china shop does not do this any justice.
No, but if you've ever met a very eager golden retriever and just seen the damage their tail can do, that's
God.
Same energy.
Attach that to a dinosaur that's 4 feet at the shoulder and weighs more than a car.
Exactly.
So, okay, great. Well, as all of you are sitting here watching Tavin approach on this raft, you can see he's pushing it heavily through this thick, this water that at this point, near this part of the riverbank, the current is actually slow moving. You can see, and this is not unusual, but you can see the occasional hump emerging from the water of plesiosaurs who are deeply curious about the object that's moving across the surface of the water. It's not unusual. They always get super curious. Plesiosaurs around the river tend to act like puppies. They tend to act like sea lions, where they are just super, super curious. They have been known to freaking kill people who get too close because they look so adorable. Those people submerge into the water with a mouth around their head and never come back out. They don't wander too close to the banks, however, because like most animals who live in water and whatnot, and even crocodiles to the modern day, know that there are predators out there that also walk on land and would make short work of a plesiosaur if it got too close. They do kind of wander up close to the raft, however, and follow it up. As he's getting closer, as Tavin is making his way closer, this raft is about 16 feet long and about 8 feet wide. It looks like one of these small, well-made rafts, and I say small in comparison to the ships or the boats that they normally use, which transport people downstream with huge, like, crates of goods from Kaleno City. This one is, as I said, relatively empty with only a few mounds of like packs and whatnot of look like goods, but it mostly is carrying people. It's not typical to see them using this particular transport because it's not the safest way to travel. The water line is only about 2 feet away from where people are standing on the boat. So as he's pushing it through and he's getting closer, what you're starting to realize is this is actually not a functioning raft at all. It actually looks like debris. You notice that it's not tied together. It doesn't look like it's carved. It looks like a single slab of probably maybe what was once a boat, but debris that he is pushing through the water. And it starts occurring to you suddenly how haggard Tavin looks. You also see that he's got a wrap on one of his arms and dried blood is clearly visible around his elbow. This dark liquid that seems to have dried and once again become like, it still has like river water splashed upon it as he's pushing. You can also tell that the people that he is pushing that are on this device that are on this piece of salvage with him, there's about 6 of them. One of them looks like they're laying down in a prone position with somebody holding them. The picture starts becoming more and more clear as he approaches and gets closer. When he gets within voice shot, he calls out to all of you. And nothing in particular, just you hear him shouting in your direction as he's pushing forward.
Echo sets down her noodles when she starts seeing that this is not a good situation that's happening. She puts her noodles down on the ground in the last sound that she heard, clever, and then picks up her spear and sort of stands up and walks a little closer to the edge, ready to sort of like, it looks like there's aid needed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. River is ready to wade into the water if necessary. And is like, how hurt are they? She calls out to Tavin.
He shouts something back, but you can't really make out what he's saying. What's up, Tego?
Tego just sort of like shoulder steeny a little bit because he realized blood and meat's about to be here. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll call you when I need you. Go.
Are you asking Teeny to leave?
Yeah, I'm more edging her away because again, I know like the animal's about to take over. So yeah, I want her nearby, but just not close enough to be like, and lunch.
I'm so excited to hear you say that, B Dave.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because you are giving your companion a command
At this particular moment, while giving a command before a roll takes place, Steenie thinks you're playing with her, so she keeps butting you back with the same pressure, but upping it each time, and then like giving you a lot of head nods and like all right, what you want to play? You want to play? Let's do it.
Oh, you're being affectionate.
Yeah. If the specific request I'm giving, honestly, is like wait over there, like
Okay.
go wait over there.
So
'Cause I do
wait.
wanna- yeah.
So,
Mhm.
so you're trying
Not
to
like
wait
not
off.
like
Yeah.
take off, just like be over there. Yeah.
Okay. So roll a d20.
Hey.
If you have anything that can help you communicate with dinosaurs, if you have any skills that would help here, they will apply. The difficulty level is 3.
So I need to beat a 9.
That's correct. It's a 9 or better.
First of all, y'all, I've been playing Cypher System for a long time. That is literally the first time I've gotten this right.
I know.
I got an 11.
Nice. So, Steenie, you actually understand what Tago's telling you to do. You see the recognition take place in the eyes as they are looking at you.
Okay, so when I start seeing the hand motions over there, it follows the memory of like sometimes he plays invisible fetch, and I have to go over there. So recognizes, okay, this isn't wrestling, and then just kind of and then notices a plesiosaur hump, and then just and runs over that way.
So it's, again, just to illustrate how alarming it is for an animal that's 19 feet long to move the way this creature does. It does have that elegance where its plane barely changes as it moves. So its head has that slight bob. Its legs pick up and move 700 pounds of dinosaur forward, propelling it. But it's stable, like almost a flat surface moving across, indicating the lethality of this hunter as it moves just casually in the direction of this plesiosaur hump it sees along the riverbanks. If you can imagine this Dakota raptor dipping its head down and moving off, as cute as it looks, as cute as it behaves, it is still quite the sight. You dash over in that direction, Steenie. The hump seeming whatever was under the water, or if it was a plesiosaur, clearly aware of your approach because it submerges rapidly.
Just rampant, the equivalent of bark cawing at where it disappeared under the water, and is just sort of demanding it come back up, because that's the thing my friend threw, and I must retrieve it.
Okay, you can hear that almost bird-like cooing of the kind of like this loud, irritated noise coming from the raptor as it moves off in that direction as this thing gets away from it. At about that point, coming into earshot, you can finally hear Tavin saying, "Hi!" And continues propelling forward. As he's getting closer, you see him reaching down, and he hands one end of what looks like a line or a cable to a few of the other people. They grab hold of it and pull like just a little bit on the end, and he hurls the other end of the line in your direction.
Great.
And slaps down on the riverbank.
River's try and catch it, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. He sets down this long pole and begins to also help pull it in. You can definitely tell now as it's getting closer, they're in rough shape. You see the items that they have on this piece of debris looks like what could be probably salvaged. Given the mishmash, it looks like a couple of survival packs, maybe a couple of small crates, a few like baskets that have been kind of like woven closed and whatnot, probably trade goods, maybe places where they store rations. The people are varied. Judging from the way they're dressed, they might have been coming as far east as Kaleno City, but it's difficult to tell. There are injuries among them. There's 6 of them. One of them, the one that's laying in the prone position, the moment they start coming into view and you see them, they are not going to make it. But judging from the looks of the condition that their body is in, at first glance, it looks like they've been injured by a predator. But as the debris pulls up on shore and they immediately start lifting this person up off the ground, you begin to realize that it looks more like they've had the best way to describe it is imagine what would happen to somebody if a room with glass ceilings shattered over their head and fell on top of them. It looks like they have been sliced and diced. It's rough to look at. It does not look like predator claws or anything like that. It looks like they stood in the middle of a maelstrom of razor blades. And the moment that they start lifting this person up off the ground, you hear somebody go, no, set him down, set him down, set him down. And they immediately put him back down. And Tavin hops off the debris over to the lot of you and says, do you have anybody that can help?
Yeah. Hey, what happened? As I'm like going over to the stretcher.
Yeah. I think that Echo, you and River had the same idea of let's use this as a journey and get them to town, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So River like clocks that and is gonna walk to the opposite side of Echo and start strapping this person in. This
person looks to be about maybe mid-20s. Male presenting, looks like they were probably a member of the caravan. You see that they are dressed rather like ready for long travel. Sort of like pale skin, blonde hair that's matted with blood right now, the makings of a beard coming in. For the most part, just like alarming at how young this person looks, but it just kind of really strikes you that this person is in really bad shape. When you ask what happened, Tavin just exhales and he pulls the hat covering that he has off, the wide brim. He just pulls it off and runs his hand over a sweaty head, sweaty bald head, and just, we didn't even know it was happening until it was on us. World got quiet. Waves suddenly stopped moving. We were in the middle of a time terror. The moment we realized it was on us, it was too late. Thing tore the entire caravan apart. There was 4 boats. We were the only ones that made it out. There's only about 3 miles just up the bed.
Okay. River, count of 3. 1, 2, up.
You lift him up.
Yeah.
You hear a pathetic whimpering groan. You have a feeling that the agony that would be caused by this movement would be enough to send somebody into a screaming fit, but they're losing so much blood and the amount, not very conscious for it. You managed to get him on, though.
Help us close.
Tavin starts helping some of the other people off the piece of debris, and he says, "I never seen anything like it. Just came out of nowhere. It was right on top of us, no warning. I've seen time terrors before, but nothing like this." And he starts helping more people off.
Was it on the move?
No, it just came right on top of us. Right on top of us, right as we were sailing down the river. I've seen him inland. I've never seen him on the water before.
Hey, Tago, can you grab this? And I offer you the other side of the stretcher so that I can move around to the middle.
Real quick question. Tell me, of your characters, have any of you experienced or seen a time terror before? You get to decide.
I think
Do you think? Because they're very uncommon, but they do happen. And it's conceivable that in your lifetime, you may have seen 1 or 2. You've certainly heard of them.
Not close enough.
I would say yes, but I wouldn't mention it at this exact second.
So then in that case, Tago, when the mention of a time terror is given, it immediately sends back all of these sense memories of what it was like when you were out there in the wilderness, when suddenly all sounds stopped and the trees around you began to whip up, but there was no wind. And there was a creaking sound, and you began to see images of places from the future or the past or wherever, you're not sure, where reality began to contradict itself and things began to stop making sense. And all of time, all around you began to slice and dice. Things that were completely unpredictable, a moment of chaos erupting in the center of your world. that sent many of the people that were around you screaming in opposite directions or essentially being destroyed by unknown forces. Balls of lightning exploding out in all different directions as this warp in space-time suddenly sprung upon all of you. They were like hurricanes that are centralized. In your case, it was a 60-foot sphere of just pure chaos that came out of nowhere.
You will see him do something you're kind of accustomed to. When he's about to lose it, he very much just kind of goes like, and then he just sort of like idly rubs his hands on one of the scars on his side into the tapestry that is his skin, and he's sort of that ain't now. And I go and finish picking up the thing that she's asking me for help with.
Okay. Yeah, the boy's wounds.
Yeah. There's just a quick eyeball check with Tego, like Karn to Karn, you got this kind of look.
I'll tell you later.
Okay. And moves around because Echo doesn't believe there's such thing as lost cause as long as you're still breathing. And even then there's some negotiations. So I'm going to start doing aid immediately while moving the stretcher, kind of like an EMT sort of continually working while moving the body.
Judging from the looks of the people that have disembarked from this piece of salvage with Tavin, nobody seems to actually have knowledge. It looks like they were trying to make him comfortable, but no one's actually been able to help him. There's so many wounds on his body. His clothes are tattered. As you start trying to help now, does anybody else have any kind of medical skill here?
I do have medicine. Yeah.
You do have medicine? Okay, great. Okay, so then let's make a roll. All right. So this is going to be I'm going to set the difficulty of this at 4 to stabilize him.
And I'm trained in medicine.
Brilliant. So that's going to drop to 3. So you need a 9 or better.
Got it. Oh, okay. That's a 13.
Nice. Okay. Upon closer inspection, Gina, Echo is able to determine that a lot of these cuts, they look worse than they actually are because the deeper cuts are bleeding into them. So a trained medical eye, you begin to realize that there are certain wounds on here that if you can attend to those right away, he stands a chance.
Great.
And you begin to immediately see.
I just zone in on the ones that are near sort of.
That are deeper?
Yeah, that are near very delicate arteries and the like.
Yeah. Okay, you managed to make some quick work and do some patchwork using what you've got available. Using some of the tattered from his own clothes, you tear off pieces of cloth and you're actually able to make some tourniquets that could help here.
Yes, and you see that attached to her leather waist corset, she has a bunch of a pouch of spare rags that are used specifically to patch people on the go. So she starts ripping out a bunch and also ripping them off him, like you said, and just sort of doing her best to stop the bleeding.
Okay. You managed to stabilize him. You will be able to get him back to Silvercreek. If he survives once you guys get there is another question. Unless there's anything else, the journey back to Silvercreek is going to take place now. So you guys move past the boats. You were sent out here to meet Tavin because Lookout got word that someone was coming down the river. What's up? Tego's got something.
Oh, it's just is it a fair assumption that I realize our companions are reptiles, but they're not unintelligent? I mean, is it fair to assume it's like letting a cat out? Like, I mean, like Steenie will make her way home eventually, or
yes,
is it definitely need to corral them consciously all the time?
No, you don't need to corral them consciously. It's assumed. I take this a little for granted, but I grew up on cattle ranches, and the animals know exactly. Even if they're 100 feet away from you, they will follow you. Yeah.
Yeah, Goose isn't letting Echo out of their sight.
Yeah, I was going to say Goose is thudding along.
At least will eventually, hopefully, continue to find me interesting enough to want to continue this interaction. It's only been a week. We're still getting to know each other. And on the way back, I think what Penny is doing while people are patching people up and carrying stretchers, they are just walking right next to it and next to some of the people who seem really worried and cracking a bit of wise and doing a bit of distraction because all of this is uncool and uncomfortable. And if I can say enough dumb things that make them smile for a moment or make them not pay attention to the like, whoa, my Echo, that's a bit things that Echo is doing, then Penny has done their job. And so at one point it's like, they're just babbling, talking about this Bambi raptor they found. And she has really cool feathers. Her name is Clever. She'll be here somewhere soon.
Probably pickpocketing at that point. Looking for the shiniest item on whoever these new people are and trying to like steal that shiny item.
Little monkey.
It really is. I mean, I think the second that Echo put down the noodles, I think that Clever was actually kind of disappointed. It was kind of like, well, I had a whole thing. It was gonna be brilliant, and you just put down the noodles and you took it away from me. And so I think that they returned immediately to Penny right after that. It's just like I've had a bad day.
Ultimately, I am the one whose shiny thing was stolen.
Not mine, though, because at the mention of these these issues with like time, essentially, as Nine like approaches these people, is there any like change to like time to Nine's demeanor, or do they seem to sense anything? Because Time is a temporal hunter.
Yes. So I will give you this, and Time would know this just by Nine would know this by instinct. Let's see. Because you guys have all had constant encounters, you would know, even just from the lore, that when a time terror does appear, it is almost always followed by time anomalies. Time anomalies usually crop up on the landscape. An anomaly will take place. It's like a splash effect. If a time terror goes off, it's like a bomb. And usually in the areas that time terrors take place, you will find just like a plethora of time anomalies all around the area. Now, he did say it was about a couple of miles upstream. So at the moment, there's no immediate reaction from any of the companions right now. If anybody else's companion has the ability to sense the presence of time anomalies, they are not currently reacting to it right now.
I do feel like Nines is still like burying his armored head in like a armored Great Dane in people's crotches, though. Like, boom.
God's help you if that is the case.
That is exactly what's happening. But I think River takes comfort in that, knowing that this is normal.
It is worth pointing out that in contrast to Stenny, Goose is a theropod that does not move with the same level of grace. Instead, Goose is heavy, muscled, thunderous, like does not move like a fast-moving predator, instead moves with deliberance, deliberately.
Goose moves with inevitability.
It just, even though Goose is technically smaller than the Dakota Raptor as it's moving around, Goose,
bigger, 30 feet.
Yeah, quite tall.
Oh, I thought you said, I'm sorry. I thought you said smaller than
a T-Rex is 40 long. A Dynamiterror is 30 feet.
So this is where we're getting
Raptor
confused.
is 19.
This is where we're getting confused because some of us are describing height as length, and so I'm getting a little.
Yeah.
So in that case,
I think I did describe towering over the other dinos. I didn't necessarily mean Echo. I just meant like,
cool.
We have one that's chicken sized. So
yeah, Dakota Raptor's just about 6 foot at the shoulder. So, when she rears up, she'd probably be 10-ish. But, when she's laid down doing Raptor stuff, more 6.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent clarification. Okay, good.
I had described her as 18 because they sometimes from head to tail.
Yeah, 18. That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got another 50% on you.
Yes, in which case that makes sense. So yes, an incredibly large animal then.
Yeah,
Incredibly large.
yeah, Goose is slow and heavy.
Okay.
When not in attack mode.
And
Right.
so far, fairly calm.
Yeah.
Nobody has shown their hunter disrespect. All have shown deference, and they all seem to be afraid, which means they're afraid of Echo, which is as it should be. Echo is a fierce hunter.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, while doing medicine, you hear just the occasional and it's just communicating to Goose, just some quick like comforting sounds, some familiar clicks, so that they understand like be near and be calm. Kind of there has been a language that has been built with sort of mouth sounds and clicking.
And unlike raptors, a tyrannosaur isn't hunting for sport, and they aren't hungry right now, so being around the blood isn't like a dangerous thing. They ate this morning. It's more about I will bite you if you're a threat. Or if I'm very bored. But mostly threat.
Okay. This heavy theropod just thudding as it follows along. Not a lot of, unless there's anything y'all want to do, the conversation leading back to Silvercreek is a relatively short hike. It does not take long to get back to the settlement. And Tavin is just constantly going back in his mind about how this thing just suddenly came upon them, how 6 families have been lost, that there was at least 20 people on board this caravan, how much they were coming from Kaleno City. And they were moving all the way down, trying to get to the end of the Chalk Road for their annual caravan that they've been doing. He goes on, and the more he goes on, you can see that that Tavin is traveled. He's seen some shit. You do the kind of work that he does, you eventually will. And as an older gentleman, Tavin has that mentality where he can see some shit and deal with it. He seems very rattled. Time terrors tend to do that. They are where the natural world decides to stop functioning the way it's supposed to. It is an unnatural product. Some say time terrors didn't exist until time travel stopped working. And there's no evidence to say one way or the other, but it seems the most likely evidence of that. For the past 80 years, civilization has had to deal with time anomalies, which are harmless, and in some cases, beneficial. Terrors, however, are maelstroms that cannot be predicted. To be caught in one is a worst case scenario. What's up, Rafe?
Is it like a hurricane, so it travels, or does it tend to stay in one location?
Imagine if a hurricane could spontaneously appear with little to no warning in a small area.
Beautiful.
And that's very similar, but instead of just wind whipping around you, instead of feeling the wind whip around you, it's just the chaos of effect of what would happen if the wind was whipping around you. No actual wind blowing around you, but trees being uprooted and thrown into the air. Balls of lightning being scattered in every direction, lighting fires everywhere, everything that they touch igniting into flames and immediately extinguishing. The soil on the ground and the grass beginning to warp and to turn to glass, then back to grass. It's where reality begins to cease to function, where things stop making sense. Inside time terrors, people claim to see things. Sometimes they're images of the past. Sometimes they're cities that may exist sometime in the future, or things that could have been, choices that you might have made. It is a deadly onslaught of time, space-time converging into a moment and exploding. If you are standing just outside a time terror, nothing. You feel nothing. It's a bright, shiny, beautiful day with the birds chirping as it were, if there were any birds around at this time. Like, it would be a total calm afternoon. Looking into a time terror, though, you would see a few feet in front of you, the world going completely mad. That's the best description of what they're like. They are nightmares. And it has rattled Tavin to the core. He is, you don't know if he's ever experienced one before, but to sail through one large enough to destroy 4 caravan boats, it's a big deal. By the time you all reach Silvercreek, Silvercreek is home. This is the world that many of you have come to know as home. It's adopted you as one of its own, or maybe you grew up here. Whatever it is, this is a community that has always looked out and accepted each other, that fights with each other, but for each other. Everybody here pulls their weight and does everything they can, even if it's just an encouraging word. The people of Silvercreek are constantly lifting each other up and pushing each other forward. And it's made this small community of about 40 plus people a strong, tight-knit family. The buildings of Silvercreek are an amalgam of buildings that would be erected here in the Cretaceous period, coupled with some of the technologies that existed. This used to be an old SATI research site back before the last commute. So some of the buildings in this vicinity are research hubs, these large metal structures, big enough to support what was originally a laboratories and offices, as well as sleeping quarters, have now been converted into community housing. The ones that don't have, because the community has grown past its normal research, beyond its original population, the technologies that are available to all of you have helped erect new housing for people, stable enough to last in the constant weather of the Cretaceous period, which I should say, earthquakes are frequent. Hurricanes are not uncommon, even this far inland. Heavy storms blasting in from the oceans, not uncommon at all. The rains and the storms that take place here in this area of the world means that sometimes the river floods. The natural disasters that take place during this period in history are extraordinary. But Silvercreek has not only survived, but thrived. The way that the settlement is built is to anticipate these natural occurrences. There are well-constructed walls made out of metals, made out of the thick woods from the surrounding woodlands, made from using all these clever tricks to dissuade predators from wandering too close to the livestock. There are the occasional sauropods that wander into the area with their long necks that stick their heads in over the enclosures, because they're incredibly curious about the little creatures that are moving around inside these enclosures. And occasionally, against the village elders' wishes, the children feed them. Dr. Molina and Becker and everybody has asked them, please do not feed the sauropods, but it happens anyway.
Look, but they're really sweet. Okay, no, sorry, you were talking about the kids who do that. The kids, only the kids. The
kids that play in the streets like to feed the 12-ton cows that come wandering by, which of course has made some of these dinosaurs think, oh man, free food, and it doesn't,
I feel like 100% of the dinosaurs feel that way.
Well,
100%.
It would be 100% except for that there's goose and there's Stenny and there's a number of other animals that wander around here in the vicinity.
Steenie absolutely takes the food.
Well,
yeah, Steenie's
no.
Yeah.
I don't mean the food. I mean the deterrents to the sauropods are Goose and Steenie and anybody else who has a carnivorous companion. I'd
like to think Cover has made a reputation for being annoying enough too.
Does the heel Corgo energy?
Yes.
The Bambi raptor crawling up on the back of a sauropod and just like, hey, what's going on? What's going
No,
on?
dog, I heard you like dinos.
So here's a dino for your dino. So wandering into Silvercreek at this time of day, the gates are open. This large amalgam of metal and heavy woods being lifted up, giving you a good view of the inside, this grassy and also paved street in front of you with the surrounding cottages and metal enclosures, as well as a few of the back areas where you see there is, as the gate does open up, you do see a small collection of Bambi raptors dashing across the street with one of the kids chasing after them. You do see also overhead, there are some flying animals that also make nests in the trees overhead. This is a safer zone for them, so it's not uncommon for some of the flyers to be around in this area. That being said, the place is largely, aside from the pterosaurs, the place is largely, this time of day, it's not uncommon for everyone to be in their shops or moving about working. Yes, Tego, what's up?
I just say at some point along the way, a ways into it when we're walking, I just lean over to Tavin and I say, I know you lost a lot of people today, but the ones that are still breathing owe it to you. And that's something.
He looks at you, Tego, and he nods like he's get what you're trying to tell him. And as this middle-aged man nods to you and exhales, the thing that clicks with you is how haunted his eyes look. There's a part of this man that's reaching out and trying to hear what you're telling him. But the impression you get as he nods in appreciation and as his gaze casts back down to the ground, you're not sure he heard you.
That's all right. I said my piece. I don't say anything else.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I do. I appreciate that. And about...
Didn't say anything else.
Okay. Dr. Melina is actually out and about right now. For a woman that's pushing 110, she moves and acts like somebody who in our present day would be in their early 70s. She's out in the middle of the street with a walking cane, and it looks like in her left hand, she has a bundle of what looks like large fern-like plants. Being a botanist as her specialty, she has been working with plants, specifically using her skills for the farming that takes place out here. She's also a skilled geneticist, as shown in a lot of the research laboratories that she used. One of the laboratories here has remained claimed for research purposes and usually benefits the community. This is where they do a lot of like genetic manipulation of some of the plants so that some of the fruits that are native here to the Cretaceous period can grow in areas where they're easy to harvest and pick. She is the first one to see all of you as you come wandering in, and very agilely sets the plant down and says, "Oi, is everything all right?" As she starts moving towards all of you very quickly, kind of lifting her cane up and not really using it to walk as she's moving forward.
Nope. Hey, it's real bad.
We're in need of medical assistance.
She nods and starts waving some folks over, calling out to a few of the other community members. It only takes a few more moments. When Dr. Melina starts waving her arms, usually people take attention. People start dashing over. A few of them, the people in the community that are knowing, about as skilled. There's no real medical doctor in Silvercreek, unfortunately. There's basic understanding of how to treat and how to care for first aid. There is that knowledge, and there is technology that are still in existence with this being a former SATI site that has been replicated that y'all can use to heal wounds. But unfortunately, you would know that Dr. Melina would have told everyone by now, it's kind of common knowledge, that the physicians that used to be here, they did not survive since the time that the Silvercreek was founded in the early days. And in this period in history, especially on a settlement out in the outskirts, it's kind of hard to just send in a request for a doctor, especially if you're not technically a part of the Kaleno community anymore.
So there's no central med tent, you would say?
There is like a central area where community members who are sick or wounded are taken, but there's no medical doctor. There's no medical doctor on hand. There's only people who, like, for example, Echo, who is skilled in medicine, who knows how to help heal people.
Is who would I have knowledge of that is like the person better than me? Because I'm not the best, I have skills on how to, aid myself, as I have been heavily wounded before. Yeah. But who's the next up?
Yaren is actually an 18-year-old kid. He loves medicine, loves it. and has dedicated everything in his body to studying medicine and learning what he can from the research data that is still present in the computers here in the research center, which still has power. Still, to give everyone an idea, like this is very much an amalgam of advanced future tech and Cretaceous primitive tech. The research center still has a full functioning working computer and a database and search files, all of that. He has dedicated most of his life to studying these research files and becoming the best medic he can. He has gone out into the field. You probably have known him. Yaren is just like, he's the Doogie Howser of Silvercreek. He comes dashing down the ramp of the research pod and rushing over to you and goes, okay. You can see this kid is, again, he's about 18 years old. He has his hair shaved on both sides and a mohawk that is kind of like pulled back and tied. So I don't remember the name of that haircut, but it's just like a strip of hair that's pulled back and tied on the end. He has some artistic tattoos. Not necessarily embedded in the side of his head, but sort of like painted in, like that sort of permanent paint look, that almost like Pictish look of like the blues paint on this right side of his head. And they're all depicting like the moon or like trees. They're like, it's almost like nature-esque, nothing like hardcore badass. He looks like the type of kid that's kind of turned his body into a piece of art. He's tatted up just about everywhere. Has piercings all down the right side of his ear, dangling onto the right side. What's up?
I was just going to say, Echo's sort of been in like a, medic trance. Didn't even notice when the doctor started waving people over. But the moment she hears Urine's voice quite close is when she snaps out of it and makes eye contact. And kind of, you see the relief nerves across her face. And she's just like, oh, hey, I did as much as I could.
As he rushes over and he crouches down and he goes, no, this is good. Okay.
I technique and right here. And then she starts showing Urine what he taught her.
Okay.
Make sure that she did it right. And I applied pressure right there because so that he didn't bleed out. What's next?
He takes a quick cursory look, just looking over this, and he goes, let's see any. Flesh looks relatively attacked on the edges. Doesn't look like tearing. What did this to him?
Time.
He glances at all of you, and seeing the expressions on your faces, he just goes, okay, well, the good news is that these aren't tears. These are slashes. We can get him in. Can you help me? Help me here. And he calls a few people over and says, we'll take it from here. You did great. I'll let you know how it goes. Get him inside.
When he's out of earshot is when she finally goes, I can help. No. But not loud enough for anyone to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And then is like, no. And then turns around to Echo and is like, better go back to the river. And as she's covered in blood now.
Yeah. What's up? Tego, what's up?
Tego has a group of orphans, 3 orphans. And when he comes into town, he sort of pulls a yellow handkerchief out of the back of his pocket that I've been teaching to hunt. And they're surprised if they can manage to sneak up on me and get it.
Okay.
So we're walk very slowly down. Every occasion, if I see one of them peeking, it's very much teaching them to be stealthy. So yeah. Keeping
it. When Clever learns of this game.
Oh no!
Oh, this is Find the Lemon Yellow Handkerchief Edition.
Interstate champion, Clever. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God, so important. But Clever has dropped a pocket knife by your feet, Penny. Just letting you know at this point.
I almost step on it, or rather, I step on the handle of it and skid enough that I'm not stepping on the sharp, but that's how Penny takes notice of it.
Okay.
Where did you get me are you getting knives now? Wait, do you get knives now? I'm looking like, is this the dog that made the mess in the house? But I'm not proud.
This is very proud. Just very flashy, very proud.
I can't be mad when she flaps like that. Gosh dang it.
So at about that point, Tavin wanders up to Dr. Molina and just says, I'm really sorry to inconvenience you like this. It just came up on us. We weren't trying to be in any trouble. And Dr. Molina, again, a woman who's pushing 110, lines on her face. She would look like somebody in our time would be like in her early to mid 70s. Hispanic woman, graying hair, stands at about 5'5", always stands upright, shoulders back, dresses in very form-fitting, like a tunic, something that doesn't get in her way. She spends a lot of time hunched over, digging stuff out of the ground and like working with soil, pants and boots. She does always have like a utility pack around her belt. And she always has glasses that have been repaired time and time again on her face. She immediately waves Tavin off and says, no, please, it's fine. We can look after your people. Just why don't you bring them into the community tent over here and we'll start taking care of everyone. Everyone, it's going to be all right. You're okay. You're safe here. You're welcome here. Why don't you go sit down and take a breather? We have food. There's plenty of refreshment if you want to rest. If you need to sleep, sit down and take a break for a moment. Tavin, why don't you come over here and tell me exactly what happened? And she glances at all of you and says, don't go anywhere. I'm going to need to speak to you all in just a moment. And then she puts her arm on Tavin's shoulder and begins to lead him away. The lot of you are watching these survivors being taken to what's called the guest tent, but what it actually is this large enclosure that has been built up from metals and woods, also resembling sort of like this oval-shaped house that stands at about 14 feet tall, completely enclosed. Inside is quite comfortable with beds and an area for people to stay.
Well, Echo was leaving, and then here's you all better stay, and it's like,
yeah, she would probably specifically call out to you, Echo, and be like, "Don't go anywhere, sweetie. I need to talk to you. Please don't go anywhere."
So she just kind of stops and then doesn't turn around, but you see that like her shoulders have slumped because now the blood's gonna dry, and it's just gonna be hard.
Without,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, without saying anything, Tego just starts like pulling, like rubbing dust and dirt in his hands and like slapping it on her.
she doesn't say anything. She just opens her arms and like lets the dust be rubbed all over her.
Okay.
Like, well, I guess this shirt's gonna be a different color now. and about that time when the clapping happens, Steenie comes bolting through town with a sort of sea creature about the size of half a cow leg in its mouth that it just slams onto the ground in front of Tego, and then like sets it, like puts its claw over the prey it just threw down on the ground, and then sets it. Steenie sets their head on top of Tego's head, and you just feel the purring of the cooing on your head. It's like, on the top of your head.
He very much like hugs, but kind of roughhouses with it. Like, again, way more than you think. You're like, that could kill you instantly, right? But he's like, oh, yeah. It's like, if you ever see those like Buddhist monks with the tigers?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. You're like, do you know that's 600 pounds? And they're like, oh, you get out of here. Like, that's what he's like with Steenie.
A few moments later, Molina comes back with a serious look on her face. And she exhales and she says, well, Tavin told me what happened. It's a miracle he survived. I have a task for all of you. And this is going to need to happen pretty quickly because it's already getting late in the day. And I don't want anybody outside the walls after night. So he tells me this happened about 2 miles upstream. If that's true, there might be anomalies forming there. Do you think you are all up for going to do a little investigation?
For what?
Anomalies.
Time anomalies.
What do you want to do about them?
See if you can find any.
And then
I feel like 9 is smart enough to know the words time anomaly and very much like, woof, and like his tail swings and Steenie has to jump over it like a jump rope. Like,
So, as a quick reminder, and also to let the audience know, time anomalies are how you acquire ciphers in this game. They're things that you can interact with that will encode abilities into your DNA and give you one-time use special abilities. They're also capable of giving you visions, glimpses into the future. Some even speculate that time anomalies and even time terrors are an attempt of the future to try to restart time travel here in the past. They're valuable, if not unpredictable.
Yeah, I think River is 100% on board with this plan. It's like we can leave as soon as possible, and she's actually next to 9 right now. Just on their trip here, 9 has kind of like gotten themselves tangled in just like a bunch of just like plants, and it's just like, you know, it's kind of like around their foot, on their tail. So she's just like methodically like cutting them off and like disposing of them off the side. But she turns to Amalia and is like, we can leave immediately. I think investigating these is a good idea, making sure they're not getting any closer.
you definitely get a giant malurp as soon as you lean down close enough to Nines' feet. Just
So Dr. Molina nods to all of you and says, go and see if you can find any of the supplies that may have survived the time terror. It may have washed ashore if it wasn't destroyed or eaten by anything in the water, but if any of the supplies could have been salvaged, they're worth bringing back here to help some of these people get underway again eventually. And if you can encounter a time anomaly, see what you can learn if you can learn anything. But please be mindful of the sun. When it starts getting late, drop what you're doing and come back.
What's the sun gonna do?
It's going to set. You see her look at you with this sort of like irritated glance.
You've lived
That
out.
makes sense in context.
River,
Thank
I
you.
think, is closer to Penny than just because of past history. So I think that like she's willing to be a little bit more kind and just like forgiving about like the explanations. So she turns to Penny and is like, "You've lived in those trees to know long enough to know what happens after dark."
Well, yeah, I just wasn't sure if like we were supposed to be careful of the sun, like, you know, when there are eclipses and stuff, you're really, really not supposed to look at them. And so maybe there was a particular danger in the sun right now. I feel like clarification was
Yeah.
good.
Dr. Molina pats you on the shoulder and says, just protect everyone and help everyone get back.
Yeah. No, that we've totally got. Go through wilderness, find time anomalies because reasons.
Right, in reasons.
And then get stuff and bring it back. That
Time-
we've got. And the sun is not an intrinsic.
She starts patting you like she's trying to get you to get quiet again. Like, just, yes, thank you, Penny. Like, I need everyone to leave as soon as possible. The daylight is burning.
Echo leaves.
yeah, Tego didn't even say anything. Like while she's still talking, he turned and just
Yeah.
turned
The
off.
two cars are just like, bye.
Yes, it's a trek out into the wilderness, heading up north along the riverbanks looking for time anomalies. We are going to stop for a break right now as we're about to get into the crux of the episode. So we will be back in 10 minutes, everybody. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so jumping back into today's game, right now the party has left Silvercreek and is venturing out into the wilds. The time anomalies that have been detected are just up the river. So we're thinking maybe about 2 miles just north of the settlement. The time terror that seemed to have taken place up there had a scattering effect. So it's very likely that there's going to be anomalies to be scattered across the landscape. But there's also a chance of finding any salvage from the goods that may have been destroyed by the time anomaly drifting downriver. The odds aren't great, but if there was enough, then at least some of these people's lives might be salvaged. You all have left about, I would say, early afternoon at this point, and heading out into the wilds is, in predation, always a tricky thing. You are not the only creatures out here moving amongst the ferns and tall trees. These are the primal wilds of the Cretaceous period. And even though you have dino companions at your side that certainly dissuade a lot of predators from moving towards your group, doesn't mean that it's not incredibly dangerous out here. As the saying goes, there's always a bigger fish. I'm going to need to know who is taking point on leading you all north up the river.
Oh, I've got this.
Okay.
I've totally got this. I mean, I live out here basically. So
Okay.
I know everything there is to know about tracking. We should go that way. It's a good direction. It feels like a strong one to me.
River will play second.
Okay.
But understanding that I've completely got this.
Understanding that you've completely got this.
Completely got this.
The chalk road is not far from here, so there is the chance of running into someone who might be traveling or somebody who might be looking for people who are traveling. However, you're far enough away from the chalk road and far enough off the beaten path where it is worth keeping an eye out. So why don't we start with this? About an hour or so into this journey, I'm going to require everyone right now to make a perception check, which I don't get to call for ever in my games that I'm running for. So this is nice. So the difficulty of this is only going to be 3. So it's about 50-50.
I have an asset to perception. What does that mean?
It means the difficulty drops by 1. It functions as something that eases the difficulty, making it slightly easier for you to perceive any dangers or anything that might be happening around you.
For the record,
the difficulty. What's that? The difficulty being 3 is now going to drop to 2 for you.
I was going to say the reason why I have that is I'm so accustomed to Steenie being into things and constantly having to figure out where she is why I'm so vigilant.
Yes,
she's not off doing a bad.
Right, which is an actual for the players and the future players watching. That is actually an asset to having a dinosaur that is constantly getting into no good. You become like a dino parent. You become very good at knowing what's going on around you, so you can keep track.
It's too quiet.
Thanks to her, I got exactly 6, which would have been a fail, but now's a success. So I feel like whatever I spot, it is actively in the process of looking for Steenie.
So don't forget, you're also rolling for your dino companions because they have the ability to perceive as well. So if your dino companions also have perception skills or anything like that, which some of them do, roll for them. The difficulty is 9. And if you can drop that down, do so. Otherwise, it's just a straight up roll, unless you have an inability for being clumsy or if it gives you an inability.
Question about my dinos benefit from their trait. They're alert to the slightest signs of danger.
Oh, yeah.
So would that also be?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That would mean that, yes, the difficulty will drop by 1. So it'll go from 3 to 2. So you need a 6 or better on a D20.
Okay. And
did you say our difficulty is 3, but the dinosaur's difficulty is 9?
No, the difficulty of 3 means you need a 9 or better on a D20.
Got it. Then Steenie's. Yeah. Well, I'm rolling for 9. So nine's got an 11. So 9's clocked something as well.
Oh God, that's confusing. 9 got an 11. Okay, good to know.
That's the name of the episode.
Just to clarify, are we rolling for our dinos meaning Goose or our dinos meaning the ones we're playing?
You always roll for the one you're playing. Otherwise, you will go insane trying to figure out what's like, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ironing out those kinks.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 14 and a 16, a 14 for Clever, a 16 for River, and then River is trained in perception.
Oh, okay. So then the difficulty for you would, yes, it would drop by 1. So 3 would have been come 2. So you definitely succeeded. Yeah. So just let me know if you succeed. If you got over a 6, if it dropped to 2, or if it's a 3, if you need over a 9.
Yeah. Goose passes with an 11 and was an alert to what happened.
Okay.
Penny passes and was looking in the correct direction.
Okay.
At the time.
So an hour and a half or so into this journey, all of you the conversation has died off. You've all journeyed out into the wilds long enough to know that when you're going through the bush, no unnecessary conversation. It's time to put on the alert, to put on the alerts, because you need to keep an open ear and an open eye and just keep your senses as sharp as possible, the ones that you have, to protect you from what might be lurking. Out here is where Mother Nature is trying to get you at any chance she can. As y'all are moving through the bush, everyone kind of has this moment where they turn and look at each other. And the dinosaurs around you kind of perk up a little bit as they're also hearing it. But everyone begins to hear the distant sound of what might be conversation. Kind of bringing everybody to a slow hop. By about now, you're about an hour and a half north of Silvercreek. So you're actually approaching the vicinity of where you might come across anything. So, yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry. You said we did hear voices. You broke out a little bit for me.
Yeah, conversation.
Okay. In that case, we should slow down and possibly split up. See if we can assess who it is before we go full steam ahead. Speaking of going full steam ahead, you know who is going full steam ahead? Clever is.
Okay.
No. And I'm gonna go off after her.
Okay, so if somebody's trying to stop Clever with a command, that's a roll.
I think I am not trying to stop Clever with a command. I think I am chasing after Clever and will go toward whatever flavor of trouble Clever is running toward. Penny.
People.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to the people. We're
Exactly.
looking for people. Clever's
So
going to the people.
Clever's a Bambi Raptor?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Bambi Raptors are fast little motherfuckers. Their range movement by default is long. This little Bambi Raptor dashes off in that direction. What's up, Taco?
I give Steenie the stealth command. The like.
Okay, make a roll, and we'll see if your player of Steenie, we'll see if you succeed, how that's interpreted.
I got a 10, but what did I need?
You needed, it's difficulty 3, so you needed a 9 or better. So Steenie,
Hey, we are a well-oiled machine, my girl.
Steenie gets the command.
Steenie, whenever she sees the body language of mission, she walks eye in eye level with you. She like leans her head down to make sure that her eye and your eye are at the exact same level. So, and she always sort of is watching you. She never quite watches where she's going, where it is. She keeps her eyes on you, so that anytime there is a command, when she is allowed to be curious, when she is on a mission, so the moment you give the like, she's already heard the talking too, and has been like getting closer and closer to your face of like, when are you gonna let me? When are you gonna let me? And then so when you give the go ahead, she instantly just breaks off silently into the brush and disappears.
Yes. Again, the transformation.
Yeah.
You've just told a Dakota Raptor to get ready for a hunt. So the transformation of like the curious playfulness bleeds away as they do this. Steenie just goes full Raptor.
I would say that River just soccer mom arms 9 right now. Just fall back, buddy. Fall back.
Okay, then I'm going to ask you for a roll as well. The difficulty is 3. However, if I remember correctly, you have walks with dinosaurs. Do you have an ability to handle dinosaurs, or like a dinosaur handling or animal handling ability of any kind of skill?
I do not. My only skills are climbing and running.
Okay, so then this is going to be a difficulty 3 check, so you need a 9 or a better.
Okay, great. Good thing I got an 11.
Okay. So then the big, thick dino friend decides to actually interpret what you're saying. So however you want to portray that.
It's literally soccer mom arm. Like, you don't cross this line. Like, this is now an invisible line that you're not allowed to go past.
Nine just plops to the ground, probably louder, much louder than intended, because he's 1,100 pounds. But he,
Yes.
and like puts his head down.
Good work, big guy.
What's Echo's body language right now? Because I know she got a nat 20 on the check. And Goose is paying attention.
Did you get a natural 20 on the check for perception?
Yeah, I didn't want to talk over everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, I rolled a nat 20 for my perception.
Okay, so then in which case, Echo, where everyone else is hearing voices, you actually hear what sounds like voices being spoken through. The best way to describe this for you, Gina, would be, imagine what it would sound like if you heard stormtroopers in the distance talking through their face mask helmets. Like you almost hear what sounds like a static, and then somebody talking through what sounds like some kind of breather or helmet. Like it's coming through a stereophonic sound.
Can I get a lore check on what is there a sort of faction of people that tend to wear helmets that modulate voices?
To try to get an what kind of lore do you have, like skills or knowledge of?
No, this is just general knowledge.
General?
If there is like a known group of people that wear head apparatuses.
Like you said, you know what stormtroopers sound like?
Yeah, right.
I would say that's a difficulty 4 check.
Okay.
They're pretty generalized. So that's going to be a 12 or better on a d20.
18.
It's like I'm playing Callisto 6 again. All right. 18. So there's a lot of groups out there that use tech that can talk to each other through technology like this. It's uncommon, but not unheard of. And it can vary. Sabs can have them from time to time. You can see it in the butterflies will occasionally wear it, members of the butterfly faction.
Interesting. Okay.
But the people who are most commonly known for using these are Sati.
Okay. And what is the general relationship
with Sati?
Yeah, from Silvercreek.
So interestingly enough, Dr. Molina, as you know, is former Sati. Used to be a member of the company, as well as the head of security. Like Sati helped found Silvercreek. It was originally a research site called Sati 11A1. There's really no significance to the designation, so it was renamed. Sati has something of a tricky reputation. First of all, Sati jealously protects all of its technology. It is the most powerful faction. They control Kaleno City, which was the first site of the commute, of the very first commute and the last commute. They of course are the source of time travel and where everybody came from. Originally, everybody was Sati. Ever since humanity has fractured off and become joined out into different factions, there are still Sati civilizations, but Sati has basically established itself as the central government. For those of you who are familiar with the lore, this would be the difference between Camarilla and Anarchs. Sati establishes itself as the main source of power. And in fact, what's different here is in the Cretaceous period, they kind of are, because they control, again, all of the most advanced tech. They have the biggest centralized economy, and they have the most resources available to them. They did some pretty not great things when time travel stopped working. And by not great things, I mean, it went a little BSG there for a while. It went a little dark. We're talking about, like, aside from genetic manipulation and establishing that they were the rule of law and trying to get a hold of things, they were also responsible for things like trying to control human breeding, trying to control people's lives and like where they moved. They basically branched out and tried to, it was a bunch of people who had no business getting into leading a civilization, now being forced to lead a civilization and doing it from the mindset of a major corporation. If you think of it like that, it has a sense evolved and has become much more societal, but unfortunately Sati and its main hub of like people who control it, the people who are still in power at Sati are descendants of the original Sati employees, meaning there's a bit of a nepotism thing going on, and not necessarily everybody who is qualified to be making decisions is making decisions for Sati.
Okay,
So
so
there's
three possibles, and none of them are people Echo wants to see.
right.
So when Penny looks back at looks for Echo and to see what they're doing, they had stopped a while back and rolled an 18 to stop Goose quietly.
Okay.
And Echo is sort of knelt down, and you can see that she is reforming her clothing into a very tight and tight and removed, so as you might recognize it from observing that she is entering sort of a stealth mode. And she already has a couple of her weapons out in front of her for her being ready to grab.
Okay.
So she looks like she is preparing for something negative.
Okay.
And
That's the body
stealth,
language.
Yeah, there is a
Right.
stealth like preparation happening.
Okay.
Clever specifically, I would say, in this situation, has bolted, as we know. But I think that if these people are like kind of in this clearing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
As far as you know, you haven't actually spotted them. You can just hear them.
Right, we're the ones who are running up and are probably going to be the first to see
Yeah,
it.
we're
And
gonna-
may skid to a stop.
So I would almost say that Clever kind of like gets down low center of gravity, and Clever is clever. So Clever wants to basically try and get to the other side of the clearing and make distractions over there. So hopefully her friends can,
So you're trying to sneak up to get a view of what's going on.
I would say that Clever I would say they're staying in the bushes and they want to play like hide and seek with the people in the clearing. And so she's going to go to the far end of the clearing from where her friends are at.
So Clever's not trying to be sneaky.
Clever's not trying to be sneaky.
Okay.
Well, the sneaky as you can be in hide and seek, right? So
Hide and sneak.
Yeah, it's hide and sneak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. What else? What is everybody else doing?
I would say that River is approaching, but kind of taking in this situation, taking up the back, and but wants to stay low and wants to see who these people are first before moving forward.
Okay, so
I will let you know Echo's intentions. She has no interest in interacting with the people. In her mind, whatever faction it is, they are probably here to scavenge the supplies that we are sent to find. So she is in, well, I'll get there first mode.
Okay. All right. Well,
And Penny is running after Clever. And I think when they spot someone and don't spot the Bambi Raptor, they will do the like skid, and maybe get behind a tree and may even be successful in that endeavor. But they're not going in with forethought.
okay, in which case I'm going to say I'm going to need you to make basically a stealth check.
Very
And
reasonable.
The difficulty of this is going to be 5.
All right, understood.
So you need a 15 or better on a d20.
To explain a mechanic unique to Penny, everyone has a descriptor, a type, and a focus in their character sentence in the Cypher system. Penny's descriptor is foolish. Did that result in negative points to their intellect pool? Yes. Does that give them an inability in intellect defense? Yes. Does it reduce their intellect edge to -1 to you? I say yes. But with fool's luck, they roll advantage on every check.
All right.
So that's exactly what they're doing. For this, though, Penny has a little bit of speed, so I can spend into that, no problem.
Okay. So
I'll
what are you
spend
doing
for
exactly?
The one level of effort I get, and then from there, it's just rolling.
So you drop 5 down to 4, so you need a 12 or better.
Yep. That's a 5 and a 5.
This is everything. This is everything you hoped for, Sam.
It's everything I hoped for, Eric.
So you're dashing after a Bambi Raptor, which is kind of a fool's game anyway. As you get up to the bushes, you don't see anything. The tree line here is so thick. The ferns that have grown up are so thick around here. Some of these ferns are large enough that they tower over your head. Some of these ferns are just wide enough that they cover a large range. So you're literally smashing through these huge leaves that are almost like the size of banana leaves as these ferns have like coming up out of the ground. As you break through the foliage, you immediately stumble into a clearing where in unison, you see 6 armored Sati security agents, like armored up with rifles, and 2 that are flanked by 2 triceratops who also have what look like weapons strapped to their sides and that are eating. They all, just like in a beautiful comedic moment, swivel their heads and stare at you as you come skidding to a halt and land flat on your ass as you come to like a dead stop. And there's a beat of total silence as everyone looks at you.
Oh my God. And Clever realizes that the attention is no longer on her. So she rushes to Penny's side and now is standing between Penny and the people who have just swiveled their heads to her. And it's kind of like hopping up and down like, me, you're the one, I'm the one you should be paying attention to, me, but also protecting her human.
My murder chicken is defending me.
Adorable.
I just smile and wave.
But again, just to clarify one thing, Anarchs versus Camarilla. So they are ideologically opposed to us, but they're not necessarily like 100% actively kill on sight hostile.
No,
right?
their attitude to people who are not Sati is they tolerate you, but
No,
don't come asking them for things unless you're willing to trade.
What's our attitude towards them?
So it'll depend because you come from
a not Sati settlement.
So you're not a Sati settlement. You all come from different walks of life. A lot of the trade that comes through here is from Kaleno City, which is the capital of Sati's power. Your attitude towards them really depends on you, depending on like what faction you used to be a member of, or like, where you're coming from. But for the most part, Sati is not inherently hostile.
Further point of clarification: this is not our destination, right?
No, this is you've probably got about another 45 minutes to an hour's worth of travel before you're supposed to hit the area in which Tavin told you where the time terror took place.
Okay.
So it's also worth noting there are no other like settlements. They are way out here. This is it's unusual to run into anybody from Sati this far west.
Steenie, hearing the commotion of Penny and Clever sort of blustering through into the clearing, Steenie has been like lying in wait at the edge of where a very tall brush would be, just sort of tippy-tappy waiting because a signal has still not been said whether or not they're allowed to be close or curious.
Okay.
And then when a fellow human goes into the clearing, they just sort of allow the tip of their nose to go through, like, is it time? Like, can I go in? But they still haven't seen their human, so it's like, there is like physical. If someone were to look, they would just see a snoot and like probably a little bit of rustling. It's just like shaking with anticipation.
Okay.
River wants to approach closer because they've just seen Penny like burst into this clearing, and so she's gonna approach a lot closer, like come up to the edge of the clearing as well, and look down at 9 as well. And she's just gonna raise her finger to her lips and like beckon. And whether that actually works or not, we
will see. So roll that d20.
Great. I got
3.
What do I need to be rolling?
Well, the difficulty to get your dino pet to do anything starts at 3.
It's
so
an 8.
You need to roll a 9 or better.
It's an 8.
Okay.
You wanted him to do what?
Come towards me, like follow me, but she like did the like shh sound. So I think that she like makes a slow gesture, which means go slow.
9.
That
absolutely gets up and starts moving and does not stop. Just walks right past her into the clearing.
Okay. So it's worth noting that 9. This is an ankylosaur weighing in at about 5 tons. So as this ankylosaur comes, like it's literally like watching a prehistoric rhino just like come tromping in.
Mm-hmm.
9, heel, 9.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
9 comes just like a big dino puppy dog comes trotting up. At this point,
Yes.
with all of these results coming in, at this point, the initial reaction to seeing Penny do the slide butt land into the clearing has this moment of confusion. That's the impression you get from these guards who are wearing this. It looks like the armor is like it's like piecemealed. So like these white chest pieces that have been sort of soiled from lots of travel and wear and tear, and it has the SATI logo, the SATI kind of in the insignia on it. Plates on their arms and shoulders. They look well armored, and the rifles that they're holding in their fingerless gloved hands would indicate that they are not just like makeshift rifles. These are obviously SATI weapons. They are wearing glassed helmets to protect their faces. You can see that there are about 6 of them now as one of them emerges from behind a triceratops to get a better look. One of these looks a little more armored than the rest, standing slightly smaller than a few of the other ones. The 2 trikes, I have to emphasize this. The 2 trikes look like they have guns strapped to their sides on holsters. So these, like, on top of having packs, they look like there are 2 high-end weapons banked onto the sides of these triceratops, basically turning them into what would be accurately described as sort of like an armored unit, like
Triceratank.
Triceratank. There's no initial reaction, Penny, as you come sliding in and land on your ass. They kind of stare at you for a moment, but no rifles go up until everything else happens. When an ankylosaur starts tromping its way into the bush and everyone starts becoming a little more visible to what's going on, there's a little more activity going around. They immediately begin to form a line and rifles go up. No one opens fire, but you see the trikes immediately reacting to the SATI security officers, start shifting a little bit to the left, and well trained too, as they begin to immediately stand side by side with each other. And in just a few moments, they form a line facing you.
Yeah, no. River wants to gesture towards Tego. Tego, do you want to go? Be Dave, you got your hands up.
Yeah. Tego literally just comes out of the brush and just says, "Greetings, neighbors. We just passing through." Hands up. I have a rifle, but it's slung over my shoulder.
Okay. All right.
Steenie, with the rumble of their master's voice, just matches the low, like to themselves. To the boiling hunt that has been building, and it's like, oh, it's the low rumble. Okay, low. Calm yourself, Steenie, kind of vibes.
The feathers are low.
So, Tego, if you're going to try to disarm this situation, you'll need to make a roll. Any kind of social roll you've got, any social skill you've got, but the difficulty is 4.
I don't know that I do a murder, so
yeah. So you can't.
Exactly.
Okay. So what happens is they actually stop. They don't lower the rifles all the way. They stop pointing them at you guys. You see the rifles dip, but they don't go all the way down. They stay in the ready position, but they're no longer aiming them at you.
Important point of clarification. Is there a triceratops on each side of their side?
No, the trikes are behind them. They have formed a line in front of them. And the trikes have literally gone side by side. These trikes are basically like giant, as I said, rhinos with guns attached to the sides of them. It's worth noting that they're both a dark mottled greenish brown color. You can see from the look of these trikes, they are probably genetically modified based on the musculature. They don't look like they have the standard sort of body fat on them. They're not that husky, like thick, animalistic looking triceratops. It looks like they have been been genetically modified to carry artillery.
I look at the most armored person and I say, 4 of us out here heading that way.
One of them steps forward, and you hear a woman's voice coming out from behind the helmet. Only 4 of you?
Well, 4 on 2 legs.
Why doesn't everybody come out so we can meet each other?
I mean,
At that time,
Amy's on 2 legs, Clever's on 2 legs, and Goose is definitely on 2 legs. As this is happening.
at that time, Echo, who has not joined anyone and had been prepping, when they say, "Where's the other one?" Echo has hopped up onto Goose's tail and is sort of like running up the spine like it was a rail of Goose to get on top of the head. So at this point, you would see another human 2-leg on the head, sort of scouting, completely ignoring whatever's in the brush, does not care about the people, and is just scouting for the supplies. So is on top of Goose's head.
Wait, so who's on top of Goose's head?
Echo.
Echo is. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So at that vantage point, yeah. Okay.
I'll allow it.
So that the the SATI officer would then see another person on top of,
yeah.
Terra.
I mean, at that point,
would see me on top of Goose.
At that point, the SATI guards are now seeing a fully grown theropod with a woman on its back emerging from the tree line.
We're not just walking forward. I'm still just sort of like using Goose as a watchtower.
Right. Okay, so you're kind of like a shape in the tree line, basically, not necessarily entering the clearing.
Correct. Yeah, I don't.
Not entering the clearing. But there are triceratops right there. We're not entering the clearing.
I can hear the low grumbles, the sort of agitation coming. Now that I'm closer to the head, I can hear the agitation coming from the throat cavity.
The feathers starting to stiffen on the neck.
The sort of cat reaction starting to go. And there is just sort of a head or a hand goes to the side of the temple, to sort of calm and direct their vision more towards the sea rather than the movement in the clearing, so that the eyes are on the prize and does not agitate the people.
Okay.
We'll see if that works. Should I roll for that?
So I'll go ahead and yes, if you're looking to see if you can spot any of the supplies, make the roll. The difficulty of this, there's a lot of, again, you guys, it is a clearing, but the foliage of this area, I mean, the ferns of the Cretaceous period are rather large and scattered across the ground. It's actually almost impossible to see the ground itself. However,
are we not on a shoreline?
You're not on the shoreline. You're actually removed from the shoreline right now. I would say the shoreline is probably about, I mean, it's far enough away where you can almost hear the water, but not, it's like a distant murmur.
Got it.
I would say go ahead and make a roll, but given your height advantage, I'm going to set the difficulty at 2.
Okay, cool.
So you need a 6 or better.
And there's nothing Goose perceives as a risk to either of the hunters right now, so they don't feel an abundant need. Like, again,
no one's moving.
With my eyes peering towards the water, assuming that's where it would have washed up. It's a 12.
Nothing you can spot from here. Doesn't look like you see anything on the banks or anything. It is, again, a ways away, but it's just within visible range where you can see through the tree lines, because the trees are just enough far apart from each other where you can see the river itself. But you don't see any obvious signs of anything that looks like it's no flotsam or anything that's washed up on the shorelines. And you don't see anything in the clearing that the Sati have that indicates that they've scavenged anything.
Okay.
You do see that they do have supply packs of their own on the backs of the trikes.
I'm not a thief. Don't need that.
I'm not a crook. All right.
Okay, so area clear. Nothing that we need here. Great. lay flat on Goose and give like the quick tap of like move forward.
Roll. Difficulty is 3. You need a 9 or better.
20.
You know exactly what she's asking you to do.
And I even do it. It's kind of like because you're on
even do it.
Goose. Polo ponies and very sensitive horses can tell direction based on the pressure of your feet on the sides of their torso and steer on that. And so it's almost more from like the pressure of the hand by the neck is enough to guide Goose, and it feels like the two of you are almost like a locomotive moving together.
Perfect. So as everyone is like, as you move closer into the clearing, just a moment has passed where she's asked everybody to come out. You come out. Rifles still don't go up, even the fact that they now see Goose emerging from the clearing. There is a bit of agitation from the trikes as they sort of shift around a little bit as this large natural predator moves into the space. This armored guard with the woman-sounding voice, she lowers her rifle down to her side and situates the strap up onto her shoulder so it hangs down, but easy to grab if she needs it. And she goes...
Slowly lower my hands when she does, but kind of still like a little flared out to the side type thing, like we're all talking. We're talking.
She raises her hands, and a few of the other Sati guards begin to lower the rifles a little bit more. And she says, "We can all be friends here."
I'm very friendly. Hi, I'm Penny.
Seems pretty far out for Sati officers to be. And Rivers says this as she is trying to get in front of 9 and basically stop the forward motion that 9 is making into the clearing by just intercepting it.
Snuffling the first crotch he finds if she doesn't manage to stop him. Otherwise,
exactly. But River is trying to like be professional, have this conversation, but then also stop the golden retriever in front of her.
Yeah.
So, but she asked that question to the woman. It's
what are y'all doing all the way out here?
There's to be out all the way out here.
She glances back at her unit and says, "Yeah, we're pretty far from home. Where's your home?"
Oh, I live out here. I actually have a treehouse. It's pretty far up. You can see actually pretty far. It's just a little bit above the canopy, and
what they mean
geographically are returning Silvercreek. That was.
I'm sorry, there's crosstalk there. What was that?
I would say that River straight up cuts off what you're saying for your own safety. And what they mean to say is that we are returning home and we have been camping out here.
Go ahead and make a roll.
Okay, great.
River, the difficulty of this is going to be 6. So you need an 18 or you need an 18 or better.
Oh, damn, I got a 15.
Oh no, you missed it by 3.
I do have a mechanics question. So I know there's something where we can spend points that affect things, like spend out of our pool. Like how does that? Yeah, how does that work for times like this?
So you would if River wanted to make a really put an effort to try to lie her way through this, she would say, "I'm going to spend points out of my intellect pool," because your intellect pool is kind of like your being. It's kind of misleading to call it your intellect pool because it encompasses your emotional, mental, it encompasses all that. You're the way you engage the world socially. And so you would spend 3 points to drop. Anytime you want to ever spend a level of effort, you spend 3 points out of a pool. Now, if you have edge, you get to discount that. So if you had an edge of 1 in your intellect, it's now only 2 points instead of 3 to drop the difficulty by 1. In which case, if she would have actually made that roll.
I mean, I don't want to be overly meta here, but considering she didn't know that was an option, is that an option?
Yeah,
But she did.
I'm an intellect, but nothing in my pool or edge right now. Can I go ahead and use so when you say from my pool, does that mean from my 15 or does that mean from a different number?
Your intellect pool is 15. You would subtract 3 out of that pool.
Yeah, I'm down to do that.
I will let you do that, but I'm going to ask you to re-roll.
Okay, that's totally fine.
Okay, so the difficulty now is 5, so you need a 15 or better.
16.
You got it. All right. So this person nods for a moment and then reaches up and goes, there's like a hissing sound as she unclasps her helmet and pulls this helmet off. And you see a woman with a buzz cut. Looks like she's clearly some kind of soldier or some kind. Obviously, clearly a ginger from the bright red of her hair. As she pulls it down, angular face. I'm so sorry. What? I'm sorry, B. Dave. I didn't catch that.
I said it has no soul, I attack.
So she pulls her helmet down. You see the freckled face. She might actually have one of those porcelain childlike faces, for not the fact that her neck is built like she's been doing push-ups all her life. As she lowers the helmet, she lets it rest in her stomach for a second. She just looks around and goes, kind of far out here to be camping, though, isn't it?
I mean, hey,
What
it's
you-
all the great outdoors, right?
And we're returning home.
Right, the sun is dangerous.
The sun is dangerous.
It is dangerous to be out after dark. That is very true. She looks around and says, well, I'm wondering if y'all could help me.
Sure, yeah.
Well, first of all, I should tell you, my name is Lucy Days.
Hi,
Just-
Lucy Days. I'm Penny. I said that already. How can we help you?
She smiles at you, Penny, and she says, we're out here way far away from where we want to be because we're looking for something. And we're wondering if maybe you could help us.
What are you looking for?
Well, I'm going to go to my pack for a second. She unclasps something from the side of her pack and pulls out what looks like a small crystalline like sheet, which you know to be essentially a data pad. In this advanced technology, it literally looks like just a completely transparent piece of glass. But as she pulls it out, it clearly has power, and there's computer data readouts sliding down the surface of it. She presses it and it makes a noise. She presses it a couple of times and she holds up this data pad in front of all of you. And she says, we're looking for something that used to belong to Sati way out here. Does this look familiar to you? She holds it up. From where you are standing, she presses a couple of buttons and you see it actually trajects out in a holographic projection, just and becomes much larger in front of you.
Steve's head comes out of the bushes and its nostrils are just going mad.
Okay.
Luckily, everyone is facing the other way. Otherwise, this looks very menacing. But this is actually like all you'd see out of the brush is full face now, eyes tilted, and just so many feathers up.
Okay.
Just like the shiny.
Even
What
clever
is it?
wild.
It's like the scene in Jurassic Park where the raptor's head emerges from the bushes, except for you're smiling as opposed to looking menacing. Like,
Yeah, there's like a
Dakota
lot of,
Raptor.
their tongue is kind of like licking at their sides very anxiously.
Okay. She does take note of the Dakota Raptor that has now emerged from the bushes. But what you see appearing on the projection is it's one of those moments where you spot something that you know you've seen before, and then a growing sensation of dread as you begin to realize you're looking at what was probably once a Sati research facility in pristine condition. The buildings, these research pods look very familiar to you. And only because of the way they're positioned in relation to each other looks oddly like home.
Oh, hey, that looks like. I think it gets me at that point.
Oh my god. Oh my god. River is just gonna like
When I see that, I activate my sleeping giant ability. And I just say, are you looking for that for?
She says, it's a Sati research site. We're Sati. We lost contact with it some time ago. She deactivates it and says, so I take it you know where this is?
River's gonna give a look to Tego on the. Do we want to lie or do we want to kill him?
So at this point, between cutting off Penny, between the pause, between you looking at him, like the difficulty to lie your way through this is going to go up by 1 at this point. As things are starting to get a little tricky.
I messaged you an important point of clarification there, Eric, that I didn't want to throw out
here. Okay. No, absolutely not.
Then, so the way my sleeping giant ability works is I have to forego 1 action, and then when I do attack, I hit much harder. So you let me know what the dramatically appropriate amount of time to have passed before I start swinging.
Okay, so that doesn't work out of combat. If you're going to use that ability, it means 1 action in combat will have to have passed as you wind up.
I just I look at the woman and I just say, well, ma'am, I think we all know ain't nothing out here that don't get put to use by somebody doing something. So after all this time, I feel like whatever that might have been ain't Sadie no more.
She nods, says, all right. I thought that might be the case.
Echo is still just on top of Goose and has been standing or like laying across the head, just sort of waiting. And the moment they can see the tension being different since the hologram, which is quite far away from her, went up. Because she wasn't interested in what they had to say, but the moment the image, I can make out what the shape is, and that all of my friends started looking very different, and their bodies started stiffening. And I know that's the way the Tego's shoulders get when he's about to start punching someone, and run my hands along Goose's back. And that makes them stand up taller and look way more intimidating.
Okay, so then that's going to be a command. That'll definitely be a command roll, so that it's going to be a 3. But if this succeeds,
I have walk with dinosaurs, so does that mean it's a 2 for me?
So walk with dinosaurs actually gives you a specific ability, but I think you actually have dinosaur handling as a skill. If I remember correctly.
Dino knowledge. I wasn't sure which one.
Handling.
Oh, okay. So then no, it's going to be basically a difficulty 3, so you need a 9 or better. But you can spend out of your social pool if you want of your intellect to drop that down.
If I have a special ability of extra edge,
is it an intellect?
I didn't know where to. I will put that somewhere later.
Gotcha.
Ability, I didn't quite know where to put.
I have that ability too. For a Karn, it is 1 might, 1 speed. We get both. That's what.
Okay, 1 might, 1 spend. Okay, cool. So this would be an intellect spend. But yeah.
Is this like to the end of intimidation?
Yes, that's the way I'm treating it. Yeah.
Okay. Then my disposition actually kicks the difficulty down 1.
Okay.
Because when you're trying to intimidate.
That would make sense.
Intimidating.
You're a friggin' T-Rex. So
I got a 9, so I am above it. And good.
You are above it. Okay, so
intention is just to aid Tego so that there is backup, and maybe sometimes when someone else does something intimidating, the swinging doesn't happen because the person backs down.
Okay, so let me describe to you how this is going to function. Goose, specifically, when you're given the instruction to intimidate, what that reads to your animal mind is danger. Like someone is posturing, somebody is trying to stake claim, somebody is basically saying, I'm bigger than you. It's the call to like, it's time to stiffen up because you're in the presence of somebody who wants a piece. That's how that reads to the lizard.
Territory.
Go territory to the lizard brain, as it were, of this predator. That's how that reads.
I get tall, toss my head to side, and then roar.
So reading this intimidation effect, you see this woman who's identified herself as Lucy Days. She takes one step back as this happens and raises her hand. And you see a few of the Sati guards begin to like change their stances, like putting one leg behind them and turning to a side rifle stance as opposed to just standing there. The Trikes hold their ground, but they are clearly shaken by this T-Rex letting loose.
Good.
Even the
All
other,
for them. I understand there are also little mammals, but those are the point.
The other dino companions also take note. Basically, the king of the dinosaurs just threw out a roar and is getting agitated, is acting like it's getting agitated. The way like a silverback gorilla might slam its knuckles in the ground when it's getting pissed off. This T-Rex is just like, let me at him. It reads to every animal that can read body language, and the agitation around here begins to rise. Even you can hear animals that are in the trees begin to scatter from the sound. And at that point, she just raises one hand.
I just say, ain't nobody got to get hurt out here today. We can just all keep on walking.
My preference is that no one gets hurt. But y'all have been straight with me, so I'll be honest with you. We're a scout party, and now we know you're out here. So here are your options. You can show us where that Sati site is, and everything will go smoothly for everybody. Or you can turn us away, and things get tricky for you.
I whistle for Steenie. I don't say a word, just give her the whistle.
What does it mean?
Kill.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh man, River knows that. So
Initiative.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
Against difficulty 4 still?
No, the initiative is now 6.
So I have an inability in initiative. What does that mean?
So it means for you the difficulty is 7.
Roll a 21 on a d20.
And when I don't do that, what happens?
It means you're probably going last.
No, you're tied with me.
Well, it rolled a 17. I don't know if it's relative, but yeah.
Okay.
It means
Steenie,
we go after the other combatants.
Steenie, however, is fast. She has hold on a second. She has oh, sorry, I apologize. I have somewhere in here, like one of the things about her makes her quick.
She is if I remember correctly, she is trained in initiative.
Oh yeah,
she's a raptor.
Yeah, that's it. She's trained in initiative. So what is that?
So her difficulty is 5.
Okay, so I guess, but we're rolling for our companion. We are rolling for the companion we are playing, correct?
You always only ever roll for the companion you are playing.
Got it. So you're trained in initiative there, Steenie. I'm a quick girl.
Got it.
And- I say 9's got a big old 2. So anything's wrong.
Okay.
16 from Goose doesn't beat a 6, but it's
Not bad.
Goose is ready to rumble.
So I'll need to know who beat the initiative. So far, nobody's beat the initiative.
Ah.
No.
Oh, wait.
I have a handful of initiative things for Echo, so I'm just trying to figure them out. I'm spending some intellect to activate my danger sense. I've been preparing for this. This has clearly been leading up to a conflict.
That's going to drop the initiative roll by 1.
And I'm also trained in initiative.
So 5. So that's going to drop it down by another one. So 4. Okay. So you need a 12 or better.
And how much do I need for Steenie? It was beat of 5 difficulty.
Steenie is a 5, so you need 15 or better, yeah.
Okay. Whoa.
So Echo and Steenie are going first.
Echo rolled a 20, and I'm rolling so many 20s tonight. This is amazing. Echo rolled a 20, and Steenie rolled a 14.
Okay, so Steenie is not going first. All right. Unfortunately, 20 is not going to give anything on an initiative roll for enhancements, but I will I will say this, because you rolled a 20, I'll give you an additional, I'll make it easier for you to defend yourself. So when you roll your defense check, you are a little more prepared than everybody else. So I'll give you a +1 to your defense, just sort of like as a fun way of like rewarding you for rolling a 20 on initiative, which is pretty amazing. So they are all going to go after you, Echo. You get to go first. You were quick enough on the draw that you can see what's about to happen. When he whistles, whoever this Lucy Days is, she clearly knows what that means because her rifle goes up. Now, the rest of the Sati guards, they're difficulty 4. So whoever beat a 12 is going to go after her. But first up is you, Echo. You get to go first.
Okay. I know there is not generally hostile. I just want like what is societal roles in Silvercreek in terms of murdering a Sati party? Like, what is the sort of consequences that generally happen, if any?
Yeah.
Just so
if a this is kind of what she was trying to hint at when she was when she was trying to talk reason.
Yeah.
They're a Sati party. If they go missing, more will come.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where Echo's brain's at. Okay, so again, Echo's sort of MO is like, she tends to, if there is conflict, her goal is get the predator and the prey away from each other. Okay. Is sort of the way she vibes. So her intent is to, okay, so am I moving as myself or am I moving as commanding Goose, would you say?
You're moving as yourself right now. And commanding, if you ever want to order your, let me pull up the companion section. Throwing a command at your companion.
Yeah. Would that be like my character's move or should they stay separate?
It actually gives me that answer right here. So let me just double check it because I think you can do this without it costing an action.
Okay.
Let me just, I've got it right here. Let me just pull it up. But I don't think this is going to cost you an action. Players can choose to play their own companions if they want to. Let's see. Anytime a character wants their companion to take an action, they must ask the companion to do so. Like everything in Cypher's system, the interaction between a character and the companion has a level. Okay, so... here we go. An interaction roll. Here we go. So instead of players create, I thought this was right in front of me. Okay, so typical interaction on the same term as the character. Oh, interesting. You actually don't roll initiative for your companions. It says typically companions take their action on the same turn as their character. A character's companion can act before them, though, at the same time as enablers after them. Okay, so cool. So you can do the initiative check if you want to. Otherwise, they can act on your turn.
Otherwise, what would be the point of the Raptors having training in
Correct. Initiative? Anytime a character wants their companion to take an action, they must ask the companion to do so. I'm going to say, instead of spending any more time looking this up, I'll say this is a minor action. So you get an action.
Because otherwise, if you ever wanted to use your dino, you wouldn't ever get to do anything on your own. So that would be kind of weird action economy.
So go ahead and if you want her to move, if you want her to take an action, it's a minor action. So yeah.
Separate from the autonomy of Goose, which will take a separate turn, give a quick sort of neck jab to step forward, involuntary, almost like a reflex. So they slam really hard to jar everyone and kind of throw everyone off to justify why everyone else got lower turn orders. So it kind of throws Steiny off from the kill order, Steiny off from the kill order. It kind of jars everyone involved, and she just pushes herself up and yells down to Lucy, who has clearly stepped forward and then back as the leader. It takes an intimidation action herself, and sort of demands in a very booming tone, as a roar herself, mimicking, echoing, as it were, Goose.
You're a Karn, yeah.
and says, "Go home. Ours does not belong to you anymore. Blood should not be shed this close to dark."
All right. Make your roll. I
Get
think
the asset from Goose.
I was going to say you're on the back of a T-Rex, so that's going to count. So you need a 5. So the difficulty is 5.
Okay. Weird question.
Yeah, what's up?
I know this probably doesn't go into it, but would herding add to this since I'm trying to herd these humans away from all of our murderous dinosaurs?
No, unfortunately, that's literally like, yeah.
I think it would, but I was like, maybe, might as well try. Sorry, what am I going for again?
So the difficulty is 5. You need a 15 or better.
Okay. Oh, 16.
Nice. Okay, so here's the complication with this.
Sure.
Combat has been called for, and your fellow Karn has ordered first blood. So you've successfully, there's a window of opportunity here where you've intimidated them to leave. So it will only, so what I'm going to...
I can to live, and that's kind of all I can do.
So what I'm going to say is, it will only succeed. It's only going to succeed if your fellow Karn calls off their predator and decides not to engage in the fight. Otherwise, gunfire is about to erupt. Because right now, their action is next, or her action is next. And what she sees is a Dakota Raptor about to launch itself forward into combat.
I hold up the stop, and I did get a 15.
So you guys are basically at the last second, right when you're about to teeter over the edge of full-scale violence, you pull it back. This raptor leaping forward and coming to a stop. The T-Rex obviously showing agitation. It's quiet for a moment as literally like the two armies kind of charge forward but then pull back from the line. The rifles are up. No one squeezes the trigger. The T-Rex, you see the trikes at this point have gone much like rhinos, even though they're not necessarily predatory animals. When they go rage, they don't give a shit. Their heads have dipped down and they're kind of like swaying back and forth, these massive like shelled, plated, armored heads of these triceratops as they're kind of shifting back and forth like they want a piece. They want to charge forward and kill anything that's in front of them. Their rage is just like boiling under the surface. No one moves forward after you do this. There's like a beat of quiet when she has her elbow up in the rifle, like she's getting ready to shoulder it onto her arm, but she doesn't aim it. And she takes another step back.
I told you ain't nobody gotta get hurt out here today.
We can just pass each other by.
Steenie has seen the fist and it's pissing her off so bad, and she's pacing extremely predatorily behind the line of fire and is whining, like guttural whining, like you put a treat in front of a dog and then closed the door on them, like clawing at the floor and like, but not close enough, just throwing the biggest baby tantrum.
Okay.
And I think Penny is focusing on those raging trikes just a little bit. And they're and calming them and de-escalating them almost like I think in there as a proxy for calming down the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Just start and from a fair distance it's like, hey, shush. Shush, shush, shush.
Okay.
Yeah, clever.
Hey. It doesn't have to be this way. And I look to Lucy and I look back to the trikes.
The tension level begins to sink.
Just get along.
Okay. Just interestingly enough, the moment Penny starts speaking to everyone, the dinos around you all begin to sort of respond to their voice and respond to their body language. It's enough where it doesn't cause the tension to bleed away, but they're distracted for a moment and listening. At that point, the woman known as Lucy raises her rifle and just one hand on her left side. Like she takes her hand off the handle and raises it up. And she says, "We'll be on our way." And she slides her helmet back on. You hear a hissing and a clicking sound as it locks into place. And she takes a couple of steps back. On her signal, in perfect unison, the Sati soldiers begin to take steps back as well, but they keep their rifles up. And the trikes begin to like simmer a little bit. And you watch her with deftness. She just swings up and takes 2 steps and is on the back of one of these trikes, facing you as they begin to turn away.
Till next time.
"Sun setting, don't be out after dark," she says.
Yeah, no. Sun's dangerous. We know. Be safe. Have fun. Use good judgment. Bye. We have to warn Dr. Molina. They're gonna bring more dudes.
I immediately walk towards Steenie and I just like physically turn her head away from them and I give her the hunt command, just like point out into the jungle, like go kill something. You go, you just murder to death over there.
She is moving away from your touches as like is like punishing you for your actions and is like nipping very lightly at your hands and then bolts off to let off her steam,
Dashing off into the jungles.
I super slap her on the ass right when she goes.
Smack.
Yeah.
The other carnivore goose is perfectly happy. They roared. Their hunter roared, and everything scattered. The world is working as it's supposed to.
So there is like the heavy shuffling sounds of this scout unit moving back into the tree lines. And this Sati security agent on the back of her trike just watches from facing you guys as she begins to disappear with her unit. It takes a while before you start noticing that the sounds of their movement is fading away. Like they're constantly moving now. And the tension finally begins to just fall away as all of you realize that they have left the area.
That's when Echo finally slides down the back of Goose to rejoin the humans and just sort of addresses everyone, but is still in the mode of the adrenaline is still there, so her voice gets lower. And she's like, they'll still find our home, but at least they know we're all willing to fight.
Let's get on with it. And starts walking towards where we're supposed to go.
So you branch off back towards the main river.
Actually, how much longer till sundown, would you say?
Probably about 3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
Before the sun
okay.
starts to
I
set.
see you thinking it. It's okay. We have plenty of time.
Yeah, about 3 hours.
We can do both, and then we'll get back. We'll get all of you back to the settlement. But first,
As well.
Echo will throw out, does anyone want to head back to give a warning in case they stumble where they shouldn't?
That's what I'm thinking, Echo.
All these years they knew Sadie was out there. We got our orders. We need to finish them.
Well, over there is clear. And she just sort of points to the vista that she had particularly scouted. So don't start there.
This way. I'm feeling very good about this way, everyone. Let's go. Come on.
Did you find your little killer chicken thing?
Clever is hopping up next to Penny right now, especially when they're like, this way. Clever's like, yeah, let's go. Onwards.
Okay.
Ready to go. And does the runs forward a few yards and then runs back to you, Penny, and then is like, you keeping up? Are you keeping up? And keeps
I
going.
am now. Let's go. And I figure it.
Echo leans over to Echo and is like, I think we need to get a leash for the big one, not the little one.
You get a single chuckle out of her, just like you. That's when you feel the teenage energy of like, Yeah, that's
And I think River has her forehead to 9 right now, and it's just kind of like doing like a soothing, just like making soothing sounds. And the second that she sees that we're ready to go, she like kind of like pats him on the side, and it's like, I guess we're keeping moving on, big guy.
As you were all starting to move out of the clearing and moving towards the river, things seem to have died down, and the sounds of the wilderness are starting to come back again. Pushing through some of the foliage, you're moving closer and closer to the great body of water that connects it as like the lifeblood of trade throughout this region. But you find yourself pausing for a moment, River, and looking out in the direction that these Sati agents came from. Nobody knows Sati like you do. And you know this is not the last time you're going to see them. They are far from Kaleno City, which means if they're looking for the location of Silvercreek, this just became a thing. That is where we are going to end our very first session of the Secrets of Silvercreek.
Woohoo!
I love it. I love everyone. Be dinos forever, please. Why do we play games where people are humanoids? Overrated. Only dinos now.
Yeah, I gotta say, I really appreciate, I was like, they're gonna have to describe everything that they're doing with their dinosaurs. So I'm wondering how they're gonna, okay, this is fine. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, this is good. This is fine.
Really? You don't think, Penny and Goose are so alike. You didn't have problems like telling them apart?
Right. So I will get back to y'all before the next episode and award experience points for this first episode, and keep you guys posted about how we're going to do the character advancement for this. Because it is an 8-episode arc, it's going to be a little different than your standard Cypher system leveling up system. We're just going to be playing it through. So just keep that in mind. But everyone, y'all did great. Thank you so much for a great first session. This is our first time playing Predation. We've been wanting to do this for a while. And it's always kind of fun stepping into a new game for the very first time and using new systems and integrating all of this stuff can feel a little awkward at first, but today was a lot of fun, so I appreciate it. I also want to give a huge thanks to the Aux crew. This 8-episode arc was unlocked in the fundraiser. We're doing this because we have the opportunity, thanks for all of the support that you've given Streampunks, helping us get up off the ground. We're going to have some big news coming up in the next month. Unfortunately, a pandemic is taking place, so everything went grinding to a halt and is taking dramatically longer than it normally does. We thank you for your patience and for your continued support on our Patreon. It means the world to us. We can tell you now that we have an upcoming vampire game in the works. Run by one B. Dave Walters. I can tell you that Gina DeVivo is in that game, and that Revati Domse is in that game, that I'm in that game, Jody Hauser is in that game, and Blue Jay will be joining us for this one shot. I am thrilled and looking forward to it. We're going to be setting that up. The exact air date for that one shot will be coming up soon, but we are actually playing. It's going to be a pre-tape, so everybody knows, so we will probably be joining you in chat. When that actually airs. So the pre-tape, the game itself will be taking place on October 14th, so you can look forward to seeing it soon after that. That will do it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us for this Saturday afternoon. And hi, VOD Squad, we love you. We hope you've been having a great day today playing your D&D games this afternoon. We will catch you on Clear Skies coming up this Monday night. Until then, my friends, thank you so much and stay whimsical.